Podcast. I am your host, John Keene. As always, I would like to thank you guys for joining me. Ask that you please add, follow, and check us out. Facebook, Instagram, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn. If you guys are watching over here on YouTube, make sure to hit the like, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and consider donating and supporting the channel. Matter of fact, we've had just recently, I've had some crazy shit happen with my Patreon. I've had people that have been longtime members request refunds. So literally, we've had a really weird shakeup with, the platform over on Patreon. So if you guys like to donate and support, it's PayPal, Cash App, Facebook Messenger, or you can join us over on Patreon, Best Damn Podcast Official. I do want to thank all of you guys for joining me. This is a little bit impromptu, but I got a lot of cool shit to talk about tonight. I just want to say first and foremost too, like it has been challenging to say the least. In today's day and age, to try and speak truth or to try to speak your truth when it seems to contradict what, the masses, the general consensus of what our reality is, as you guys know, a lot of us within, the truther community have dealt with things, like, hopefully we're coming through clear. A lot of us within the truther community have, and let me know if we are coming through clear. Let me know if you can see me and you can hear me. Yeah, but a lot of you guys within the truther community, you guys may be familiar. I've dealt with directed energy weapons. This has been an ongoing thing. Witchcraft, as a targeted individual, just, it never seems to have an end, with the harassment, the censorship, the deplatforming. I mean, a lot of you guys have experienced this too. It's like whenever you go against the grain, you start to speak your own truth and you're not capitulating to the left-right paradigm. You start to see friends slip away, family slip away, lovers slip away. A lot of people will turn their back on you because it makes them uncomfortable. They don't want to make waves. They don't want to stand out. Most people are afraid to speak up, for what's right. Most people are afraid to speak up for themselves, and most people are afraid to point out, what's going on in our world today. We have a lot more people that are starting to do it. A lot of the people in this community are very brave people. And think about just what happened during COVID and all of that, how many people lost their jobs by standing up for what they believed in. Not to mention, how everything has been so politicized over the last 8 years. You can easily be demonized today, just by simply disagreeing, with what the general consensus is. And it's like, especially those of us that have kind of like seen past the illusion, we point out things, and you have the left and the liberals that believe you're a alt-right conspiracy theorist because you don't believe in their nihilist, atheist, trans agenda that they continuously push onto people and shove it down our throat, and all of the virtue signaling, and they're force feeding it to us day in and day out. And then you have the right too, right? If you don't go along with the whole pro-Trump regime and believe that he's the savior, and that he's actually here to knock the deep state out, when we know that nobody could get that fucking office. Nobody could get that fucking office if they wasn't already in bed with the globalists to start with. And if we just look at his background, he's clearly a Zionist, very closely connected with the Jesuits, and it goes on and on and on, not to mention, his connections to Freemasonry as well. But those people, if you say those type of things, they call you a snowflake and a liberal because people can't see past the two choices, right? They can't see past the two choices. To them, that is all that exists. That duality, that dualistic mind state. And it's like Christ talked about how the narrow gate, that's the way. And you can kind of see now, like what he was talking about, like what's being described when we're talking about the narrow gate, right? It's walking that tightrope between the duality, between good and evil, between left and right, between black and white, between all of it. Today, we're going to be talking about some pretty interesting shit. Trump is now, and one would pretty much believe that this is going to come along with his close associations to Elon Musk. He is now pushing the AI agenda. He recently spoke at the World Economic Forum, so we got some goodies from that as well. There have been recent nuclear exercises. We're going to talk about that. And of course, now they're coming out talking about, don't take the jabs anymore. And, a lot of these things when it comes to, and we got to be very careful of what we say, because even though the executive order that was supposed to make a federal mandate, to ban censorship, we know how these platforms work, and they're fucking snakes, right? They're weasels. And, any wrong wording, that'll land you medical misinformation and, all different types of things. I can't tell you how many different times, I've been slammed, especially here on YouTube. You see the Pizzagate gunman been killed by police. It's like one crisis acting event after another. One crisis acting event after another. We have the JFK files that have been released, Martin Luther King files that have been released. Now they're telling you too, all of that 23andMe DNA mail-in shit. Yeah, the military is warning you, don't do that. People like us was telling you don't do that a long fucking time ago. But I mean, does it really matter if they have your DNA, if they have your genetics, if you have taken something that literally fucks with messenger RNA and has the ability to manipulate, and send codes to your genetics to alter you, at a genetic level? Would it really even be, something to worry about at this point? And, over 90% of the population, they participated in that. We're now seeing a lot of articles that are saying that the unvaccinated, they knew the whole time and they didn't tell the people. It's just fucking one thing after another, when we look around today. And, and people can call it fear porn and doom and gloom, but it's like, it's important to see these things, and it's important to understand these things, not because, you need to be afraid of it, because, most often people fear what they don't understand. It's that way you can have a grasp on what's taking place, and you can have an understanding on what's taking place, and you won't be duped. We've all been had, time and time again. At least I have, and I feel like it's being humble enough to admit, that we've fallen for the programming, that we've been brainwashed, that we've been duped. These politicians have tricked us time and time again. The media has got us time and time again. But it's like, now that we can see the patterns, now that we can recognize what's taking place, it's important to point it out. That way other people don't fall victim to it as well. And that way we don't help to create and manifest this new world order, this one world system that they are trying to get us to manifest. Now, remember, these news cycles, it's very powerful because we are all conscious creators, right? We attract and we manifest consciously. So as we look at these things and we believe these things and we have an emotional connection to these things, remember, emotions are energy in motion. We are literally sending out the bat signal energetically to either attract or repel the things that are taking place. And we're believing this wholeheartedly, and this is what becomes the collective reality. Let me see if I can pull up the chat here. Hopefully you guys can hear me and see me. There we go. Yeah. And I do want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Yeah, man. It's been a real bummer too, honestly. Hey, nice to see you, Ike remotely, Bailey, Globear. I appreciate you guys, man. Honestly, I really do. Um, I have been getting attacked a lot lately. I mean, I'm not even going to lie. I've been getting attacked a lot lately. I've had people literally fuck up my Patreon. I'm $500 in the hole over on Patreon because I have people disputing fucking charges and tried to screw me over. It's like this is just a normal thing. Honestly, this is, I don't expect anything less at this point in the game. I really don't. I don't expect anything less at this point in the game. It's like constantly one thing or another. You know what I mean? Like in agents of the system, I don't feel like every time somebody attacks me, it's the fucking government. I just feel like a lot of people, they identify emotionally with the things, with these political parties, with these religious systems and these religious beliefs. They identify with them. So when I make statements about Trump, they identify with that, right? So they take it personally. When I make statements about transgenders or this or that, they identify with that. It's like, if you're not trans, and how are you identifying with this? If you're not Trump, then how are you identifying with this? If it doesn't affect you directly, then how are you identifying with this? And how are you, like, when do we get to the point to where we're not even able to hear someone, say something that contradicts what we believe? It's like there's no more healthy debate. It's like these algorithms, they reinforce our beliefs to us so fucking much that we're in this echo chamber of our own nonsense, right? It's of our own nonsense. It's like, and just to kind of clear things up, I believe that anybody should have the right to do whatever they want to do with their life, right? But what I don't believe is that, we should have these agendas pushed on us. We should be shamed and guilted if we don't go along with these agendas, whether or not they're healthy for us, our children, our future. There's no such thing as freedom anymore. So we're going to start off here. The presidential actions declassification of the records concerning the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, I haven't had like a lot of time to actually look over these particular files, but I will tell you this, it's very fucking evident that the CIA, in fact, killed JFK, and a lot of people already believe this. I did a video. It's been a few years ago. I had Eric Briggs, Angry Catfish, on, and we miraculously found the Zapruder film, and we kind of dissected it. And and other people have looked at it as well, and it almost appeared as if not only his wife, but the guards and everybody was kind of involved in his assassination. He got shot from 2 or 3 different fucking directions, right? They blamed it on the patsy, which, anybody seeing any of the images of these people, it's always the same. It's always the same. They always, are posing in photos with the hidden hand, their finger over their mouth. It's like showing you that, everybody is in on it together. And a lot of what we see today, especially in the media, is nothing more than theatrics. I talked about this with the January 6th Capitol riots. Over on my Patreon, I have a video where, we go deep and we look at what actually took place on that day. And you can see police officers with no actual badges. The men walking around with megaphones giving orders and directions like on a fucking movie set. The fake pepper spray, the movie glass, exploding blood packets. And I mean, this is the same fucking thing you see time and time again. How many different times have we seen the same people at a lot of these different events. You guys may remember it was like, I think it was for um, I'm trying to think of the news network. You guys may remember the news network, but it was like this lady. She was at fucking 5 or 6 different, events, like the Boston Marathon bombing, school bang bangs, all of these different things, right? And she's like 4 or 5 different events, and it was through, I think it was CNN, but it was like one particular news network, and they would always interview her ass the same, right? And she would come in and she would be just a little bit just different. I'm going to try to see. Those who are consciousness can shift the others through their own conscious shift. Right. And we are at all different levels of consciousness, definitely. And let me see if I can see this. Uh, let's see if we can see. They probably scrubbed this from, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of her name, man. I'm trying to think of her name. You guys may remember it. Um, but literally it was like this, the same fucking ladies. They're like 4 or 5 different events, the Boston Marathon bombing. Let's see if we can pull up that. Oops. See if we can show this. And I just want to kind of show you just how fucking fake all of this shit really is. And what sucks now is, Google scrubs the internet so hard. It's really, it's almost impossible to find a lot of the stuff that we were able to find. Yeah. I do not see this lady on anything. Let's see here. Let's see if we can find her here. Interviews. And what's crazy about this too is like anytime you see like the shit with the schools too, like Parkland and Las Vegas and just a lot of these different things, man. One of my first viral videos was the Las Vegas shooting, and it was like, they had the helicopter. I got a video of the helicopter, and it looked like they were shooting right out the side of the helicopter. It's like one fucking lone wolf guy is supposed to do all this damage at a concert, um, and it's almost like the same goddamn story every time. Every time we see the same story every time. It's always like a lone wolf. It's always some form of like gun control to push something, some particular agenda. Let's see. I wonder if this is her. I think this is her right there. I think this is her. But yeah. Anyways, we've seen like the same fucking people. My point being, we see the same people at these events time and time and time and time and time and again, dressed up just a little bit different. The same thing with like, you guys have ever seen like the Challenger astronauts. All of a sudden they all die, on television, or at least that's what we all seen or witnessed, and it's like, then it comes out like they got like twin brothers and people that look very, similar to them and in very similar jobs and in very similar fields. The same thing with Neil Armstrong and Yuri Bezmenov or whatever, right? The fucking Russian cosmonaut and then the American astronaut. They look to be the an identical person. It's like everything that we're seeing, and because people believe what they see on television. They believe it. It is to them, it's real, and perception is reality, so when they see the moon landing on TV, no matter how unrealistic that was, and, especially looking at the fact that we've never been back since, that we've lost the data to be able to go, it don't even make fucking sense, especially if, theories pan out, the moon is actually plasma, then no one even be able to stand on that motherfucker. But all of the people seen that on TV, that production, so to them, that is real. Just like, the different events that happen at these schools, just like 9/11, right? Even though we had different news networks that were actually announcing what had happened before it even happened. And every time one of these events happened, by the way, this is another surefire thing to kind of like show you that it is some crisis shit. 9/11, they were running exercises, scrambling fighter jets to simulate attacks on the Twin Towers, simulate attacks on the Pentagon. Same thing with the Las Vegas shooting. They were running a drill that day to simulate that, you know. Same thing with Parkland, same thing over and over and over again. Sandy Hook, and anybody who tries to challenge that, people like Alex Jones, I mean, the motherfucker's been sued to no end, sued to no end. And that's to keep them from, it's to keep people from challenging it, keep people from going against the status quo, keep people from going against the narrative. And this was another one, the Pizzagate. You guys remember this? And lo and behold, the Pizzagate gunman has been killed by police in North Carolina, authorities say. Kannapolis, North Carolina, a man who fired a gun inside of a restaurant in the nation's capital after a fake online conspiracy theory called Pizzagate motivated him to do so nearly a decade ago, was shot and killed by North Carolina police during a weekend traffic stop. Now go figure. Edgar Madison Welch was a passenger in a vehicle stopped by officers in Kannapolis on Saturday night. According to Kannapolis Police Department news release, one of the officers recognized the car as the vehicle of someone who had arrested and who had an outstanding warrant for a felony probation violation, Welch police said. When the officers approached the vehicle to arrest Welch, police said the man pulled out a handgun and pointed it at one of the officers after he was instructed to drop the weapon, but didn't. 2 officers shot Welch, authorities said. Emergency responders took Welch to the hospital, and he died from his injuries 2 days later, according to the release. None of the officers nor the driver and another passenger were injured. In 2016, authorities said Welch drove from North Carolina with an assault rifle to Comet Ping Pong restaurant in Washington after believing in unfounded, right? And you guys remember what this actually was founded on. This came from the Clinton emails and shit like that. You guys remember all of that shit was leaked, to the DNC. And they had some really fucking damning evidence, which, and that was WikiLeaks and all of that brought all of this out. And that was an amazing time too. I feel like that was a shock to the culture. It really was a shock to the culture. People had heard about these things, the fucking pedophilia, the adrenochrome, human and child trafficking, all these terrible, terrible atrocities for so long, associated with these satanic ritual abuse and all of this, and that this was taking place at the highest levels of government. This was taking place, with the huge celebrities. I mean, you name it, right? But the wealthy, the rich, the prominent, the famous, these are the people that was believed to be doing this, and as part of their their ritualistic cult. And you got to think too, this secret religion or secret cult, everyone that you see on your television is a part of this cult. Everyone. I don't care if it is, people in the music industry, if it is Hollywood actors, if it is politicians, it doesn't matter. Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. And that's why I say shit like there are 2 wings to the same bird. Because ultimately at the end of the day, and you got to think too, that when they are initiated into these mysteries and when they are initiated into these brotherhoods, these fraternal orders, they take off their fucking wedding ring. They take off everything. And the reason being is because their allegiance to the brotherhood, to the order, comes before everything, even their wife, their religion, all of it, right? So when they're taking oaths to protect the country and serve the citizens, or right, I mean anything, especially when they're public servants, public servants shouldn't even be allowed to belong to these brotherhoods because they are taking oaths that supersede their duty as a public servant, and that's just my opinion. But when they take these oaths, their allegiance is first and foremost to the cult that they belong to, right? Then their wife, then then their job as a public servant, all of that. Then all of that comes after. And if their job or anything like that is conflicting with what the agenda of their club is, right, then the club comes first. That's why they're stripped down naked and they take off their wedding rings and all of that, right? When they're initiated, blindfolded, all of this because they're coming in from darkness into the sublime light, into the enlightenment of Lucifer, right? And if you look at these, and even thinking about it too, Bohemian Grove and all this, all the, President, Kid Rock, everybody, right, has been to Bohemian Grove. Alex Jones did an undercover, which he's part of this too. A lot of people believe that Alex Jones is another shill that was actually had an identity change. And I'm trying to think of the actor he was Bill Hicks. He was a comedian, is what they say, who died from pancreatic cancer at like 32. Then all of a sudden, Alex Jones pops up, same teeth, same ears, everything, same best friend, same company they work for, all of it. I mean, this is like what they do, right? It's like they reassign people and they put in their own agents, for their own purposes, and we've even seen people on the Alex Jones show accidentally call him Bill, and whether you believe this or not, and see, and this is where people get lost in all of this, because when you start telling them, that, and I don't know about the cloning and all that shit, but I'm just saying I do know that, I have seen things like Yuri Bezmenov and Neil Armstrong that appeared to be the same person, Bill Hicks and Alex Jones that appeared to be the same person. I don't believe that it's above the CIA to, change somebody's identity and use them. And you got to think too, the CIA, what is really dangerous about them, and this is what JFK and shit was warning about before he was assassinated, was, this conspiracy, these secret societies that, their whole agenda is to undermine the system and to, they're bringing an outcome. They're trying to bring an outcome, and it's this one world system. So when you see like Trump and shit talk about all the nationalism and shit like that, he's just dressing that up. This is just him, having a presentation, giving you what you want to hear because it's controlled opposition. Alex Jones is the same thing. He's given permission for what he can tell you, and you can remember when all these email leaks came out and they were very damning evidence, Barack Obama and all of the hot dogs and fucking Hillary Clinton and the children in the fucking hot tub. It was very bad. They scrubbed the fuck out of that from the internet. They censored the shit out of that from the internet, and demonized anybody and anyone connected to that as well. And you guys remember the whole QAnon movement and all of this shit, right? How many different people went down smoking, right, for even covering this kind of shit? The YouTube channels that used to be around that specialized in this niche are no more. You can't even discuss this kind of shit online, let alone, hopefully you guys can hear me and see me. Yeah, Alex Jones looks different now. I've heard that too. And who knows? I don't think he's changed identities again, but no, I have heard that Alex Jones does look different again, that he's like supposedly gotten back in shape and all of this. And some people are saying it's not him. I don't know about that. I do know that they will fucking change identities. So, you guys remember Comet Ping Pong Pizza, and this was, the whole pedophilia, the symbolism for pedophilia, in pizza. and the code words that they use for this as well, for pedophilia, they try to dismiss this as one big giant conspiracy. And then here we see the guy that was actually involved in this. Now he gets smoked at a routine traffic stop, right? 2016, authorities said Welch drove from North Carolina with an assault rifle to Comet Ping Pong restaurant in Washington after believing an unfounded conspiracy theory that the prominent Democrats were operating a child sex trafficking ring out of the pizzeria. And if you remember the video too, I don't know if they even have any of this shit up on YouTube anymore. I'll try to find some. Hold on. It's fucking creepy shit. Yeah, here we go. Let's see if we can pull this up here.
Anyway, here we are together, and you all are very grateful that you are below a Subway sandwich shop. Yes! And Jerry is known to hang out down here. He likes the world sounds. Tamales.
And little boys.
And children.
I think I was his manager.
No.
And little boys and children.
We all have preferences. Anyway.
Shit is fucking creepy. And this is at Comet Ping Pong Pizza. And they see talking about this underground Subway and that they like little boys and everybody has preferences, and this is like, a lot of the shit that was coming out when all this came out, and they can call it a conspiracy if they want. It's up to you to believe. I'm not trying to tell you what to believe, but you can see after believing the unfounded conspiracy theory that the prominent Democrats were operating a child sex trafficking ring out of the pizzeria, the fake theory, dubbed Pizzagate, began circulating online during the 2016 presidential election. He entered the restaurant armed, and as a customer fled the scene, Welch shut at a locked closet inside. After realizing there were no children held captive in the pizzeria, Welch peacefully surrendered. No one was injured. At the time, Comet Ping Pong's owner, James Alefantis, you guys remember him too, said the conspiracy theory and subsequent violence from it traumatized him and his staff. Welch later pled guilty to interstate transportation of a firearm and ammunition and assault rifle with a dangerous weapon in 2017. His judge, now Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, subsequently sentenced him to 4 years in prison. City of Kannapolis Communications Director Annette Prevette Keller confirmed that the man who died was the same one involved in the Pizzagate incident. The shooting and death of Welch, a resident of Salisbury, is under review by North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation. Officers who fired at him are administrative leave per the department's protocol. And speaking of like underground shit, let's see if we can find this here. And they're finding more and more of this shit, actually. Tunnels and shit like that. And it's like, I used to think this was such bullshit when I would hear the Trumpers and shit like that. They would talk about these underground tunnels and shit and how children were being saved. And I'm not saying that any of that has even happened. I don't believe any of, and you can see here, I don't believe any of the Pizzagate, the QAnon bullshit, where they actually, where Trump's been making underground arrests and all this shit. It's just fucking nonsense, if you ask me. But here you go. A year ago today, the tunnels were discovered under synagogues in New York City. Stained mattresses and baby high chairs were found inside. A year later, no real conclusions. Do you remember this video?
A hidden tunnel was discovered under a synagogue right in the heart of Brooklyn. Hard to believe, right? Let's dig deeper into the story.
Directly to the tunnel.
Sorry, we're supposed to show an actual tunnel video. It all started when videos began circulating on social media, primarily on X, showing an altercation between Jewish Hasidic men and New York police following the discovery of a secret tunnel under the global headquarters of a Jewish movement named Chabad Lubavitch, commonly known as 770. The brawl began when the group group's leaders dispatched cement trucks to seal the tunnel's opening, with no police presence inside. Proponents of the tunnel then turned violent and tore off wooden panels inside the synagogue. The police were only then called to the scene and arrested 9 people. The leaders refused to say when they found out about the tunnel, although word of their existence had been circulating around the community over the past few weeks, according to several worshippers. Those in favor of the tunnel said they were carrying out an expansion plan long envisioned by Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, a key figure in the movement. Some of the group's adherents believe that Schneerson, who died in 1994, is the Messiah and is still alive. Those who built the tunnel reportedly held this belief. They'd set out to carry out this expansion plan by connecting the synagogue to the whole empty space behind it, 21-year-old Zalmi Grossman said, adding that it was what the rabbi wants and what everybody wants. In February 2023, the founder of an initiative named Expand 770, Levi Jacobson, expressed the same desire and conviction.
The Rebbe urged that each and every Jew should participate physically and monetarily with Expanding 770.
Following the brawl with the police, Mari Seligson, a spokesperson for the group, condemned the construction of the tunnel, describing it as an act of vandalism committed by a group of misguided and extremist young men. Although social media is filled with theories linking the tunnel to child trafficking, exactly why they were built and what they were used for remains a mystery.
Yeah, remains a mystery, right? Exactly what they were built and what they were used for. And we've talked about this too. And hopefully this video stays up. I feel like I'm going in a pretty wild direction here. So if you're in the chat, make sure to hit the thumbs up. But kind of like looking at some of the alleged beliefs, right? The hedonistic beliefs in the whole 1,000 points of light, believing that when this belief system basically, and this, kind of goes right in line with what we were talking about with the other shit, the cults, and you've heard George Bush talk about the 1,000 points of light, his dad talk about the New World Order. I mean, they were members of Skull and Bones, 322. But the 1,000 points of light is basically the concept that when the Creator created everything, that there was so much light, right, that it was even trapped in darkness. So basically, the only way to ascend is to descend, right? So that's why they do these practices of orgies and they do, right? They literally have rituals where they all come together and, and do their orgies and all of this, because that is, to descend. That way they can extract that light out of that darkness, out of that matter, right? The only way to ascend is to descend. And this is like a whole form of hedonism. And there are many people that even speculate that what took place during the reign of Hitler, right, and the Holocaust, which Holocaust means a burnt offering, right? So this is like a mass ritual as well. And what the genocide that took place then, that it was removing the prominent families that did not believe in the hedonistic views, right? They didn't subscribe to those views. So they were the ones that were actually put into those camps. I mean, and you can, like I said, this is speculation, pure speculation. I'm not telling you that this is the way it is at all. I'm just saying this is what some of the theories are out there when it comes to this, And like I said, we really we're just scratching the surface on a lot of this shit, honestly. And speaking of Hollywood and all this, there's another little girl that was, probably sacrificed as well, so, and it is a shame to see what is taking place, honestly, and what continues to take place. And it's hard to kind of even try to put this stuff into words and put it on a platform like this without really, getting myself slammed, because it's most of what we see in the media, and this is just my opinion, most of what we see in the media today, and that's why you'll see like a direct correlation with numbers, numerology, astrological alignments and astrological events, like all of the lockdowns took place on Saturn Uranus square, right, astrologically. Every time they locked back down during COVID, right? The spiritual meaning of COVID, if you invert the word, it's Jfk 91, which means to be possessed by an evil spirit in Hebrew, right? Just very, very weird shit. Like when you really start to dig into all of this shit, and the same thing goes with like I said, like these burnt offerings and shit. When you look at what takes place with the directed energy weapons for a lot of the fires and shit like that as well, right? Like the fact that none of the grass burns and it all appears to be like electrical fires. And of course they say that it's because of the winds and they blow over the power lines and all of that. But you guys can remember Paradise, right? And that's when they really started cracking down on censorship as far as like what we were able to show. But I can remember the videos. It looked like fucking Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It was literally people in their cars. They were skeletons holding onto the steering wheel, and the entire cars were melted. The entire cars were melted. And isn't it funny how every time we do see, these things like these fires, and it's like, are these sacrifices? Are these, and by putting them out into the collective consciousness, right? And there's kind of like a school of thought that goes to this, like with the Roman circus. It's like this form of purification for the masses. Whenever they have these, very dark rituals that take place, whether it is, fires or underground tunnels or school, or bombings or whatever, right? That these are rituals, and the people that pass are sacrificed. That's why they'll take place on specific dates that correlate to certain numbers in numerology. That's why they take place, like I said, on specific astrological alignments, because they're invoking astrological energies. Remember, the planets are conscious, right? These are entities, And also, you'll see a lot of the symbolism as well that takes place with this as well. Like the images that they show will invoke certain things, and that's neuro-linguistic programming. They're meant to invoke like certain emotional responses, right? To get you emotionally engaged, because emotions are energy in motion. When you're giving off that emotion, right, you're giving that energy, that focus to what's taking place, right? So you're essentially fueling that ritual. And the fact that you're believing it as well, you're believing what you're seeing to be true, you're creating that also, so you're participating actively within these rituals. I mean, just think about CERN and the Large Hadron Collider, and when they fucking did all of the Luciferian fucking rituals there. It's like the fact that people haven't caught on to this point, or the fact that people literally consider all of this to be conspiracies, is just fucking mind blowing. At what point, do you say, okay, well, this ain't no longer just a coincidence, There's no such thing as fucking coincidence, if you ask me. And speaking of, JFK was what you call a king kill assassination. He was killed on the 33rd parallel, right? This was one of the king kill assassinations. And I'm trying to think of the man who killed him, what his name was. Anybody want to help me out with that? He was allegedly a communist and all of this. He was a fucking patsy. Spot on, John. Thank you. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. There you go. And that's Carl Jung. Carl Jung is also part of the hidden hand, right? So, of course he would believe that. And I'm not saying I don't believe these things, or that I don't know that there's truth in what's Lee Harvey Oswald. Thank you, sir. Lee Harvey Oswald. And there's images of Lee Harvey Oswald with his hand in his coat, which anybody familiar with these cults, right? It's like you'll see a lot of things. They're either accentuating the eye, doing this kind of shit, accentuating the eye because it's for the all-seeing eye, or you'll see them doing, something like this. These are all parts of the rituals, right? Within the club, and this is, your throat will be cut if you say it, or you'll see them like doing this, or covering their mouth, right? Because, it's a secret, right? Not to speak about it. Or the hand in the jacket representing the hidden hand. And a lot of politicians, you see the hidden hand more prominently, actors, actresses, musicians, you'll see with the eye, or this. Yeah, but Lee Harvey Oswald, he was definitely, a patsy. He was definitely part of this too. Same thing with the guy who killed fucking Abraham Lincoln, John Wilkes Booth. He was also a Freemason. There's photos of him with his hand in his coat as well. So the White House announcing the full declassification of all records concerning the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, also RFK and MLK files, the moment of truth. Congress.gov, all information, and this is AI can prescribe drugs. And see, and this is that Brave New World concept. This is how we're going into this, and you got to think of like this transhumanist agenda. They believe, AI is essentially God, right? An AI God. And I'm not saying that it is or it isn't. I'm just saying like it has the ability to become our God, right? This all-knowing, omnipresent, entity that has the ability to do anything, right? Beyond what human beings can do. And with those rituals, like at CERN, right? Where they had the goat and all of that shit. A lot of people believe that, with quantum computation, right? D-Wave, that they were actually tapping into alternate dimensions or realities, and that there were disembodied entities, inhabiting, artificial intelligence, and that we're giving birth to, this beast system, and it's like, when you think about, the mark of the beast and the image and the number of its name and all of this, it kind of makes you wonder, like, are we seeing, and it talks about everybody would be forced to worship the image of the beast, right? Is the image of the beast artificial intelligence? Is AI something that, Satan or Lucifer or, some negative entities are able to use as a vessel to, infiltrate the physical reality, right? Because without bodies, disembodied, I mean, they operate through ritual, right? People have to invoke them and open themselves up, and they can temporarily inhabit people, possess and attach and things like that to that nature. But it's like, could they actually inhabit AI and robots and shit like that permanently and allow them to be mobile, into the physical reality? And we see here all information except text for HR 238 to amend the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act to clarify that artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies can qualify as a practitioner eligible to prescribe drugs if authorized by state involved and approved, cleared, or authorized by the Food and Drug Administration and for other purposes. And I feel like this is fucking wild. You see these sci-fi movies and shit, and these dystopian, futures and realities where like humanity is enslaved by machines, and imagine them not only being able to administer drugs and taking over, the medical industry. And we've already seen that too. And I want to show you too, literally. See, here's the HR 238 and I'm going to drop this into the chat for people that are interested and you want to look this up yourself. I also want to show you too, right? Think about cryptocurrency, and this is another Bill Gates patent, right? Cryptocurrency system using body activity data. You can see they're bringing AI in to be able to administer drugs and give prescriptions to drugs into the medical field. And think about what took place with that, that messenger RNA and the ability to send messages to our genetics, right? And what a lot of people believed, the graphene oxide and its magnetic properties to be able uh, to either gather at the heart, which is, generates the largest electromagnetic field of the body and has a 6 foot radius. And remember the social distancing, it was 6 feet, right? And think about it, 6, 6, 6, right? Like they're trying to keep you 6 foot distance. And also think about that your magnetic pole of your body is actually your pineal gland. And that's where that graphene was gathering, right? Is at the pineal gland, because that was the magnetic pole of the body. And now look at this: human body activity associated with a task provided to a user may be used in a mining process of a cryptocurrency system. A server may provide a task to a device of a user which is communicatively coupled to the server. And think about this. This is like neural networks, quantum computing, and all this. Sensor communicatively coupled to compromise, and the device of the user may sense body activity of the user. And this is the Internet of Bodies, right? Body activity data may be generated based on the sensed body activity of the user in the cryptocurrency system. Communicatively coupled to the device of the user may verify if the body activity data satisfies one or more conditions set by the cryptocurrency system and award cryptocurrency to the users whose body activity data is verified. Now, think about this. This is basically a social credit scoring system, right? Through the Internet of Bodies, having the ability to like read your vitals and everything, essentially, you become part of the blockchain, right? Your value within the blockchain in this crypto system, everything's digital, right? So in order to participate, you'd have to have a digital ID, all of this, right? Based on your biometrics, right? And with this requirement of all of this messenger shit to alter your genetics, which then kind of turns you into this giant fucking antenna for 5th-generation technology, which is millimeter wave, that has the ability to make water molecules rotate within your body. And remember, you're 80% water. The earth is 80% water, right? We see these nanoparticulates, which also have the ability to refract light. We know that Bill Gates, he's trying to dim the fucking sun down because of climate change and global warming. So these nanoparticulates that are coming out the back of these fucking planes that we call chemtrails, right? These aerosol trails that are coming out are refracting light back out into space. They have the ability to bend light, also create illusions or make things invisible and cloak shit as well, right? We have this launching of satellites by the 20 and 30,000s, right? Starlink and all of this. So it's becoming this blanketed surveillance, right? All through the skies as well, Um, and all of these things, like I said, is all through DARPA too. Let's see if we can pull some of this shit up. Every one of it, if you look at at the end of the day, it's through DARPA. And DARPA is also with the DoD, right? So the Department of Defense is the ones who disseminated all of the jabs, right? And it kind of makes you wonder, when all of that took place, why was the Department of Defense the ones that were actually putting this out, everywhere, all across the world, right? Everywhere across the world. DARPA launching the satellites to communicate with the biometrics. And remember, it was called the app eject delivery system. It was a dual delivery system with one was the inject, and the other was what do they call it? A microchip, right? A microchip is what it was. And they said that wasn't inserted into people. That was just for the tracking and shit like that. But it's called the app eject delivery system, is what they used to, poke everybody when they were putting that messenger RNA out into the population with that graphene oxide and its magnetic properties, right? Like I said, which correlates to the pineal gland, which is the magnetic pole of your body. It is your spiritual antenna, right? And it has the ability to destroy that spiritual antenna, right? And if you think about the nanoparticulates, you're now able to communicate with this blanket fucking, you know, frequency of the 5G and 6G, which has the ability to read thoughts and everything, you know, that has been placed out into the atmosphere. It's like essentially turning people into cybernetic organisms. You know, it's like everybody's becoming cyborgs. And if you think about what they're doing with D wave, right, in this delta wave, which is the sleep wave, right? Essentially putting the consciousness or the spiritual consciousness of all of the population to sleep that way. Then, you know, through frequency, radar, all of these different frequencies that are emitted through towers, you know, radio frequency, television, so on and so forth, right? They have the ability to tap in, right, into everybody because they're now essentially antennas walking around. And you know, if you think about AI, you know, it's given this power to, you know, it's got real-time prediction power, right? We know that you know, now it's given the ability to, you know, write prescriptions, and we, you know, we can only imagine where it's going to go next, you know, before it's passing laws and giving citations to people. And it's like you can see where all of this is going, right? To where it truly is not only a police state, not even a police state, a surveillance state, right? This dystopian future of where everybody is essentially transhumanist, whether they want to be or not, because they're putting this shit in our food, they're putting this shit in our water, the shit's in our air. It's like you almost can't help but get these heavy metals within your body. And that's why there's such an increase in juvenile diabetes, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all of this, because of frontal lobe damage from the aluminum, you know? And it's, you know, and it's absolutely insane that nobody says anything about this. And we continue to, and think about too, and I want you to think about this also with, you know, Elon Musk, that is, you know, the big funder of Trump's 2024 fucking campaign, right? His big run. You know, this is the guy that's trying to put neural lace in everybody's fucking head. You know, just saying. This is the guy that's trying to put neural lace in your fucking skull. You know, everybody thinks that he's such a good guy and that he's, you know, all about freedom of speech and shit like that. No, he's not. You know, he got Twitter, you know, to control the narrative, to control social media. Now you see Zuckerberg jumping on as well. Facebook, Twitter, all of this, you know, and it's like you can see the Trump regime now at this, and I do believe that in 2016, what we've seen was like a, you know, a coup d'etat by the military, right? Essentially overthrowing, um, you know, the executive, legislative branches of the government. You know, it's like through it, it became like the military was in charge, and that's why Trump was so heavily backed by the military. That's why you've seen national emergencies being declared left and right at that point, given emergency powers in order for them to roll out all of the you know, the mandates and shit like that. And notice that it was circumventing the U.S. Constitution. People weren't allowed to assemble. They weren't allowed to have free speech. They weren't allowed to do all these different things because their rights were being violated, because they were being ordered, you know, to comply with things that, you know, were unconstitutional in nature. You see, in the last 4 years that took place, and at the end of his fourth year, the Transition Integration Project, where there was this transition of power, right? 30,000 National Guard troops occupied the Capitol, right? Never seen anything like it, where the federal government is shut down. It was almost like, you know, as this transition of power had taken place, it was like the fall of the United States. Over the next 4 years, you've seen Biden. He was just a president in name, right? You could see him like looking off to the side, being told what he could and couldn't say. And, you know, and he would even say it like, they told me I could say this, or da 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 da. You know, he was senile as fuck, you know? And now Trump is back, and it's like people are, because of the last 4 years, and because people believe what they're shown on television, they believe their perception is a reality. They believe the shit that they're fed. They believe that he's actually one of us. They believe that he's actually fighting the fucking deep state and the new world order and all of this. It's fucking insanity if you think about it. Just like they believe they should trust the plan for QAnon and all of this, even though, you know, that entire movement got fucking demonized and they were all deplatformed and, you know, criminal charges and all of this shit, right? Seditious conspiracies. as they're being told that he's making underground arrests and shit for child trafficking, and that, arrests are coming for all of these fucking pedophiles and shit like that. It never fucking happened. Pizzagate and all the shit, it was just rolled out. That way people could see it. Right. And like I said earlier, this is like the Roman circus. It's almost a type of ritual, right? What they do to the masses. So as they're doing their rituals, right, of sacrifice and things like that, they then act it out for the population. It's almost like a purge or a cleansing of the population because they are playing along, right? They're participating in the ritual. They're just doing it unconsciously, They're doing it unconsciously. Even back then, in the days of Rome and shit like that, they were doing it as well, So they would have, the gladiators and shit like that, that bloodshed, right? Shedding blood as a form of like purifying the masses. We see it now, like sporting events and shit like that. It's the same thing. And now television and propaganda and all the shit that you're being fed through the programming, you are not only participating in these rituals, but it's also, cleansing them or abstaining them from any guilt because you're participating willingly, by giving your vote, you're giving him permission, right, to represent you. You're giving them permission to represent you. You're giving over your power and your sovereignty. That's why everything, in law is like according to maritime law and shit like that, right? These are actually the laws of the heavens. These are spiritual laws. Everything goes back to the spirit because it all starts there. It all starts in consciousness first, spiritual realm first, right? And they bind it there first, and then it's bound here on earth, or vice versa. They bind it here on earth to bind you into the spiritual realm. That's why you're born into bondage with your social security number. That's your bondage number. That's your slave number, And see, and people don't believe these things. It's like, because it sounds so fucking fantastical and so fucking nefarious, But you can see, and they definitely won't believe in a depopulation agenda, right? Even though we have these agenda 2030 and all of these, right, for sustainable development, they're fucking telling you with their smart cities and all of this. They're telling you what the agenda is. They're not hiding it. And this may be the actual way that they get rid of a large portion of us. You can see large-scale nuclear training exercise to take place in Schenectady, I don't know the name of that, New York. Large-scale multi-agency nuclear incident training exercise will take place 126 through 131 in Albany, Saratoga counties. The training exercise will not pose risk to the area residents. Please do not be alarmed by the activity. Many conspiracy theories often start was there was an exercise in the area. Wasn't I saying this at the beginning of the fucking video? That it always begins with a fucking exercise, right? They're running an exercise and then the real thing happens. The FBI writes, no need to be alarmed. So run to your bunkers. And let's see if we can pull this up here. Yeah, here we go. Large-scale nuclear training exercise to take place in New York. Public need not be alarmed. From January 26th to the 31st, 2025, a large-scale multi-agency nuclear incident training exercise will take place in the vicinity of Schenectady, New York. Am I saying that right, guys? And surrounding counties of Albany, Saratoga, and Schenectady. The training exercise will not pose any risk to area residents. The public does not need to be alarmed by training-related activity, including the presence of military personnel and aircraft and people in protective equipment. The Department of Defense, and there's your DOD, your DARPA, right? The Department of Defense, the Department of Energy, National Nuclear Security Administration, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, and state and local partners will conduct the exercise in several areas of Albany, Saratoga, and Schenectady counties as part of a series of regularly scheduled U.S. government biannual exercises. Similar trainings have been conducted in various regions across the United States since 2012. The general areas in which the training exercise will take place include areas around Albany Airport, the Stratton Air National Guard based in northern Saratoga County. Several local and state law enforcement, fire, emergency management, and public health agencies will also be participating in the training, including the New York State Police, Albany, Saratoga, and Schenectady County Sheriff offices in the Albany Police Department. Exercise participants will conduct operations and personal protective equipment to simulate realistic conditions. It will also include aircraft from federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. The exercise is an opportunity for participating entities to practice and enhance operational readiness to respond in the event of a nuclear incident in the United States or overseas. Due to the sensitive nature of the capabilities being implemented, the training activities are not open to the public or the media. Again, the training exercise will not pose any risk to the public. And you can see where the media inquiries are. I would really like to see if we can get the PDF for this and see exactly what they're going to be doing. I wonder if it'll pop up after the fact. Right. But you can see, though, they're running nuclear training exercises here in New York, you know, and it reminds me of, just to kind of give you like, here, let's see. Right here, right? The nuclear blast on the back of the $100 bills, right, in New York. You guys may be familiar with that, you know, and they've telegraphed a lot of this shit, man, you know, a lot of this shit. You can kind of see the progression here. See, the day after tomorrow, you know, and you can see, man, this is, and I don't know, you know, what you believe or not, you know, you can, and see there's a nuclear bomb right there. Another right there. See? This is nuclear in New York City. Twin Towers. You guys can kind of like take it or leave it on what you know, what you believe as far as that goes. But I absolutely see, and that's a missile launch right here. See? Missile launching. See if we can pull some of these images up to kind of show you. So, I mean, it's just interesting that they're running these exercises in New York. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but right, you can see that nuclear blast there, right? Missile launch, nuclear blast, and this is in New York. You know, this has kind of been like a famous one, at least. Now I want to show you the one with the progression, kind of the day after tomorrow one. Let's see if we can see that one. Day after tomorrow, right here. This is the cool one, right there. And you can see this is another, you can see the progression, right? And some people say it's a tidal wave. I believe it's a nuclear blast that's actually hitting New York with a tidal wave that follows, right? And if you think about it too, especially, you know, how, you know, Donald Trump, he had an executive order in 2019 to harden the grid against EMP and shit like that. The United States is very vulnerable to electromagnetic pulse. Our infrastructure is very fucking old. We do have the Olympics coming up in LA in 2028, I believe. And let's see if, pretty sure there's Illuminati cards for that as well. Let's see. And you can see here, you know, the attack on the Pentagon, right? California. And it just goes on and on and on. You know, everything that we see here, guys, like we've already seen it happen from Fukushima to fucking everything, right? And here's your transhumanist agenda, blinded by science. There's your Donald Trump, enough is enough, the assassination attempt. And I do know they have one for the Olympics. I'm just not sure if it's for LA or not. Las Vegas. You guys remember Las Vegas? See, I mean, like they put it all on here. Like every event that you've seen, like these are rituals. These are, in my opinion, these are rituals, right? These are premeditated fucking events, period. You know, and you can believe that or not. You know, it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. Honestly, I'm not going to. Olympics. Yeah. Let's see where the Olympic one is here. I know they have the Olympics. Yeah, see, look, there's one that looks very similar, right? Tidal wave, New York City, right? And the day after tomorrow, you know, if there was to be, you know, a nuclear blast, and notice global warming. Look, Statue of Liberty, New York City underwater. Just saying, these are very interesting when you look at it. I'm not telling you this is gonna happen or what. There's another one. Look, New York. So you can see all of it too. Look, the pandemic, martial law, emergency powers. You know, we're seeing all of these things happen. You know, terrorist nuke. So. And unsettling message spotted on Google Earth. Help! Traffical human. From a Facebook Google Earth group, unsettling message spotted on Google Earth near Cesar Chavez Avenue, LA. Help! Traffico, LAPD, and federal. Written in debris coordinates. And this is very fucking crazy. Look at this. I'm going to show you the actual image of this too. I've got it right here. Look at this. Look at this. You can literally see these motherfuckers on Google Earth, right? Help for trafficking here in LA, right? Help. They're being trafficked, human trafficking. And you can see it on fucking Google Earth. I mean, and this is just mind blowing. You know, it's mind blowing that the shit is even right here. You know, but everything is just kind of swept under the rug. You know, everything nowadays. Just like CIA now favors lab leak theory to explain COVID's origins. How about that? New analysis that began under the Biden administration is released by the CIA's new director, John Ratcliffe, who wants the agency to get off the sidelines in the debate. The CIA, and you can trust them, has said for years that it did not have enough information to conclude whether the COVID pandemic emerged naturally from a wet market in Wuhan, China, or from an accident leak at a research lab there. But the agency issued a new assessment this week with analysts saying that they now favor the lab theory. There is no new intelligence behind the agency's shift, officials said. Rather, it is based on the same evidence it has been chewing over for months. The analysis, however, is based in part on a closer look at the conditions in the high security labs in Wuhan province before the pandemic outbreak, according to people familiar with the agency's work. A spokeswoman for the agency said the other theory remains plausible and that the agency will continue to reevaluate any available credible new intelligence reporting. Some American officials say the debate matters little. The Chinese government failed to either regulate its markets or oversee its labs, but others argue it is an important intelligence and scientific question. John Ratcliffe, the new director of the CIA, has long favored the lab leak hypothesis and has said in a critical piece of intelligence that needs to be understood and that it has consequences for U.S.-Chinese relations. So think about this. We're having the nuclear attack scenarios, right, in New York, and now they're coming out saying that they're favoring the lab leak theory, with the new director of the CIA, and that this is going to affect United States China relations, right? And this could be like, and I've always kind of long thought too, and it's like, and you can take it or leave it, you can believe what you want to believe, but that we would actually see Trump. Oh shit! I think I'm not sharing anymore. Weird. That is so weird. Did the screen share stop working? Interesting. All right, hopefully we got back on the screen share. I do not know what happened. I wonder how long that happened ago. Okay, so weird. Just a second ago, I guess. So, think about how this affects U.S.-China relations. That's all I'm saying. Like they're literally saying that this is going to affect U.S.-China relations now, and they're now supporting the lab leak theory. And they're running these fucking drills for nuclear, scenarios in New York City. How about this? Alberta task force recommends the halt of COVID-19 vaccines in a new report. And it's like, they're what the fuck is going on? There we go. And if you're in the chat, make sure to hit the thumbs up for me, guys. It's not on my cam anymore. I can see that it's actually screen shared. I don't know what the fuck happened with that. That's so weird. I've never had that happen. Where it just like literally went to yeah, we're good now. I wonder how long I was taking. Wasn't too long. No, that wasn't too long. It was only a few minutes. Yeah, it looks like it was only a few minutes. After the large-scale nuclear training, I don't know what the fuck happened with that COVID-19 vaccine. But here we go. Alberta Task Force recommends the halt of COVID-19 vaccines in a new report. The task force took aims at vaccines which Alberta and other Canadian jurisdictions required in order to access public gatherings and businesses during the pandemic. An Alberta government task force has recommended that the use of COVID-19 vaccines be halted unless more information is provided about the risk. In a report rife with suggestions that can run counter to mainstream scientific consensus, the $2 million task force final report released Friday touched on several points common with disinformation campaigns, such as the effectiveness of public health restrictions and masking, while also recommending some government authorities over media. Now, think about this too. You're literally having this Alberta task force come out and saying, like, halt the shit, right? Stop it. And they're literally saying that this touched on several points in common with disinformation campaigns. So they're now saying this task force is fucking disinformation, right? Because they're talking about the effectiveness of the restrictions, the effectiveness of the masking, right? While also recommending some government authority over media. Alberta Premier Daniel Smith in the fall of 2022 directed the government's then health minister to strike a panel to review pandemic data and provide recommendations. The Globe and Mail in April first revealed details about the task force, which was led by Gary Davidson, a physician who claimed the province manipulated statistics to introduce restrictions and exaggerated pressure on hospitals during the height of the pandemic. The task force composition and report reflect Mr. Smith's skepticism toward how governments around the world responded to the pandemic. The final report, for example, revealed that Jay Bhattacharya was among its 13 panelists. U.S. President Donald Trump nominated Bhattacharya to run the National Institute of Health. In 2020, Bhattacharya co-authored the Great Barrington Declaration, which argued against public health measures such as lockdowns. The 269-page report is a sweeping criticism of the government's response and defense of a contrarian argument, such as the value of drugs, such as ivermectin, which scientists determined were ineffective in warding off and treating COVID-19. The task force took aim at vaccines which Alberta and other Canadian jurisdictions required in order to access public gatherings and businesses. Alberta launched a vaccine passport system in September 2021, and while it ended it in early 2022, physicians still recommend booster shots. The task force recommends halting the use of C-19 vaccines without full disclosure of their potential risks, ending their use in healthy children, teenagers, conducting further research into their effectiveness, establishing support for vaccine-injured individuals, and providing an opt-out mechanism from federal public health policy. Mr. Smith, prior to becoming premier, rallied against Alberta's management of the pandemic, particularly vaccine mandates and restrictions on gatherings. She promoted drugs such as the anti-parasitic drug ivermectin, and also traveled to the United States to receive Johnson's single-dose shot because she was skeptical of mRNA vaccine. How about that? Isn't it weird how it all kind of like fucking comes together? You know, it is. It's yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad it's fixed now. That was weird. I've never seen some shit like that. It started during the Illuminati card game. Sorry about that. So you guys didn't even fucking see the Illuminati cards, did you? Sorry about that. My bad, y'all. But there you can see them at least. That way you know what I was talking about. But, you know, isn't it weird how all this time now we start to see it all kind of come together, right? The mRNA and its ability to alter DNA, the graphene oxide and its magnetic properties. And we've talked about the scope of, you know, the magnetic pole being your pineal gland and the destruction of that spiritual antenna, right? And how that could alter and affect somebody as well as their aura, right? Their electromagnetic field, which is generated through their heart, right? And essentially throwing off their spiritual protection, their ability to protect themselves with their aura, and their ability to receive and connect to spirit, right? Not to mention altering them at a genetic level. Turning them essentially into antennas for 5 and 6G, right? Which operates on millimeter wave. And like we said, it has the ability to make the water molecules rotate in our body. And that's how they get these active denial systems and all that shit, directed energy weapons, which, trust me, I'm very familiar with. I get teed off on the directed energy weapons constantly. And how we are 80% water. The planet is 80% water, right? These nanofibers, these nanoparticulates, right? And a lot of people I believe it's called Died Suddenly. It is a documentary that shows, like, they go to the morgue after all these people they passed away, and it shows like all of the fibers that have grown throughout their entire bodies, you know? Literally altering them, changing them, you know, and this is part of that transhumanist agenda. That way they can receive signals, you know, from all of these satellites that cover the sky. You know, they launch 20,000, 30,000 satellites at a time now. All of it connected to DARPA, and the DoD, including the DoD disseminating all of this, right? We talked about the app eject delivery system, and how it has, and one is the poker and the other is the microchip, tagging these people. And that essentially it makes population able to be controlled remotely. They're now allowing AI to write prescriptions for pharmaceuticals and act as like a doctor to people. It's only a matter of time before AI begins to pass laws and write citations. The people that are connected to this, connected to these neural networks, right? And what entity is inhabiting the quantum computers, right? These delta waves, these sleep waves that are essentially putting us to sleep consciously. And like I said, Trump and Elon Musk, this is the guy that's bringing in the neural lace, Like, if you don't think the agenda is being rolled out, you better wake the fuck up, man. You better wake the fuck up. We see the rituals played out over and over and over, Ain't nobody being rescued from underground tunnels, but we're finding them. The guy who does the Pizzagate gets fucking smoked, They're practicing for nuclear bombs. Now all of a sudden they're saying, oh yeah, it was a leak in Wuhan, and now Chinese-U.S. relations are bad. It's like maybe even grounds for war. Who knows? And we've seen the telegraph symbolism and the predictive programming of New York City, on the Illuminati cards, on the back of the $100 bill, right? And these nuclear bombs and tidal waves and shit like of that nature. And lo and behold, that's where they're holding the exercise. They're now releasing Jfk, Mlk, RFK, all of these assassinations that were these king kill assassinations, right? That took place through the CIA. The CIA and DARPA basically is running the whole fucking thing. Bill Gates has the patents for the cryptocurrency system using body activity data, right? Essentially connecting everybody to the blockchain, mining your data, mining your body, right? And essentially a social credit scoring system, to decide your worth. We see the ability of these satellites to create directed energy, fires that are taking place all over the West Coast. And it just so happens that way they can create LA 2.0 in time for the 2028 Olympics. And I'm sure there'll be some type of event there as well. Update on Bill Gates' new smart city in Arizona. The billionaire purchased 24,000 acres outside of Buckeye in Arizona and an additional 2,800 acres in Buckeye. A few years ago, Bill Gates announced plans to build a smart city outside of Buckeye in Arizona, though his subsidiary, Mount Lemon Holdings, the billionaire, spent $80 million to purchase more than 24,000 acres of land with plans to build a smart city, which will include housing, schools, offices, and retails. Since the purchase, there has been limited information on the development of the project. In these 15-minute cities and these smart cities, a lot of these other places are being burnt down to allow the building of these places, right? Let's take a look at this too. And you can see how the agenda is all fucking coming together here. It's like everything, piece by piece. The media reported the company associated Bill Gates purchased Buckeye and Tonopah for $80 million. I'd like to see some of the plans for this, actually. Let's see what this actually looks like today. Let's see what it looks like. And you can see these smart cities, right? These are images of what these smart cities are supposed to look like. these 15-minute cities. You know, and in order to build something new, sometimes they have to destroy something. You know, you can see the old world, the old society being destroyed. All the religions are being torn down in favor of now this new age, um, Luciferian, you know, this indoctrination into Luciferianism, whether people know it or not. That's what's happening right through the new age. You know, and they can agree or disagree. They can believe it or if they want to, or, you know, that's up to you, you know. But I can promise you these new age beliefs are in fact Luciferian principles, you know. And think about Albert Pike and how he talked about the 3 world wars and this social cataclysm pitting the atheist and the nihilist against the conservatives and the Christians, creating this social cataclysm to usher in this, you know, doctrine of Lucifer, you know. And we're seeing just that happen. The legal system, and, you know, it's now also being deconstructed and being reinvented. The medical system, right? The internet of bodies and artificial intelligence. We're seeing an entire shift in our paradigm. And this is bringing in that utopian one world system where all of the countries in essence they're in alignment now. You've seen this take place during COVID. All the governments having the same protocols, all of them using their Department of Defenses in order to disseminate everything. And, you know, and all you need is a giant global cataclysm or a global war, right, in order to kind of dissolve all the nationalist borders. And who more perfect for that than Trump? Normalization of human trafficking. To add some more, 4 years ago, governments around the world required you to take these shots to participate in society. Today, they're saying they're not safe to take. Just asking myself, how is this guy still not in jail? The guy who funded EcoHealth, which created C19 in the Wuhan lab. The guy who made billions off the C19 vaccine and had reps in the NIH suppressing ivermectin to get the EUA for his vaccine. Right? Fucking crazy when you think about it, really. Fucking crazy. How this motherfucker literally was in bed on every side of this. Underground cities in Iran. Let's take a look at this. This is interesting.
An ancient mirage beneath the desert. The underground city of Nushabat in Iran might not be as famous as that in Derinkuy in Turkey or the Edinburgh Walls in the UK, but it is as much of an architectural wonder. The 3-story settlement is 23 meters deep and has a labyrinth of corridors, tunnels, canals, and chambers filled with hidden passageways and booby traps. But perhaps the most surprising of all is its complex ventilation system. The U-shaped tunnels allow air from outside to circulate, making it possible for people to stay inside for long periods. The construction of Nushabat in central Iran dates back around 1500 years to the Sassanid Empire. But because it was discovered only recently, many of the city's secrets are yet to be unveiled.
یک مدیریت و مهندسی
I find
قوی
it very
Strong
interesting.
engineering behind the
find it-
structure. They dug the wells of 12 meters beneath the ground.
I find it very fucking interesting that all of a sudden, you know, a lot of these underground cities are popping up, you know, like this threat of nuclear war, and they're like showing you, you know, all of these underground cities. And a lot of people believe that they were like pre-flood and they were used during the flood. I don't think so. I don't know how you could, during a flood, everything being submerged in water, you could go underground and be okay. But I could, you know, see asteroid impact, comet impact, nuclear war, something blasting the surface, right? And the need for this. And isn't it interesting, like Iran, Iraq, these are like ancient Sumeria and Babylonian, areas, right? This is like the cradle of civilization, and the gods were creating these things, and I use the term loosely. The gods were creating these things, Mesopotamia, Sumer, right, Acadia, right, they had a purpose in it, right? And remember, even during their time, when we see an Enki's world order, aka the Lost Book of Enki, it talks about the evil wind, right, which was like a nuclear wind, after this weapon of mass destruction was unleashed on the population, killing off everybody. Remember, the gods, they smoked humanity a couple times in that text, these Anunnaki, which promised to return, by the way, And are we seeing the return of the gods? Honestly, you got to really ask yourself that. Now, this is an interesting one. This is the deep seek, too. And this is China. And you can kind of see where this is going as well. A lot of shit about China in the news here recently. Like instead of the deep fake, this is the deep seek. In case you weren't aware, there is a developing cyber war that has blown up today. China's DeepSeek prompts global sell-off in AI-linked stocks. Twilight of the gods, and I just mentioned the gods. NVIDIA loses 15% of its share value. Broadcom also down 15%. Microsoft only down 4%. And Google only 3%. Of course, Microsoft and Google are fine. More downloads of the DeepSeek than of ChatGPT in the App Store. On the stock market, there are always great euphemisms for excuses when the price has fallen. For example, taking profits or here price correction. And the don't worry, guys.
We want to bring in Dan Newman. He's Featuring Group's a chief strategist. We also have Stacey Raskin. He's Bernstein's managing director and senior analyst. Great to have both of you. Stacey, what do you think? How worried should we potentially be, or how worried should big tech be about this development?
I'm not that worried. I think there were
AI
a
images.
few things that have caused panic over the weekend and clearly in today, right? I mean, the headlines, the initial stuff, the takes that came out basically said, oh my God, they've duplicated OpenAI for $5 million. They did not.
Yeah, they've duplicated OpenAI for $5 million.
Not duplicate OpenAI for $5 million. We can go through why. Number two, I don't want to discount the models they built are fantastic. They really are.
And now, and now the Chinese are also releasing an image generator. Is the creator not big enough? Meanwhile, DeepSeek is fending off a cyber attack on the software. Origin of attack is not known to me, but is known to someone. This attack may be a defense of U.S. dominance in the field launched against the maker of DeepSeek. Someone knows better than me. The Chinese releasing an image generator. I'd like to see what this is. Let's see what we got. China AI brings their families back to life. AI image generator nixes political content. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, China is on top of shit right now, right? Clearly. Let's see here, B trials and image generation. DeepSeek's new open source AI model surpassed Stability AI and Microsoft-backed OpenAI models and benchmarks for image generation. The Chinese startup said in a technical report on Monday. The company said its Janus Pro 7B AI model outperformed OpenAI's DAL-E 3 and Stability's AI Stable Diffusion in a leaderboard ranking for image generation using text prompts. The new model is an upgrade over Janus, which was launched last year and comes on the heels of DeepSeek launching a new assistant based on the DeepSeek V3 model that has become the top-rated free application on Apple's App Store in the United States. I encourage people to go check that out too, honestly. Very interesting. Trump speaks at the Trump gives virtual remarks at the World Economic Forum.
Mr. President,
hello.
What great honor. What great honor and pleasure to welcome you back to the Davos community. Just 4 days into your new mandate, we highly appreciate your presence with us today. We wish you all the best as you take on your critical work ahead. The global challenges we face today are monumental. The importance of American leadership and your personal leadership in this regard is fundamental and paramount.
Does anybody else? I cannot stand this motherfucker, Klaus Schwab. He is a sack of dog shit. Anytime I ever see him speaking, it's just like my stomach turns, you know, honestly.
We are here to hear your vision and policies related to revitalizing the economy and addressing the global challenges. As you might expect, Mr. President, your return to office and your forthcoming policies have been at the focus of our discussions this week. The discussions among 3,000 political and business leaders from over 130 countries who came together here in Davos. We look forward hearing first from you and then to the follow-up discussion with business leaders moderated by my colleague Børge Brende. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Well, thank you very much, Klaus, and hello to everyone in beautiful Davos. This has been a truly historic week in the United States. 3 days ago, I took the oath of office and we began the golden age of America. The recent president.
And I just want to, you know, kind of tap on something here with the golden age shit. How many different people have kind of like heard, and I would like to, you know, it's hard to get a lot of participation from people these days. Sounds like Hitler. He does sound like Hitler. Somebody already put it, dude. The golden age equals the age of Saturn. Yes. And it's like, if you think about like the beast of Daniel, right? The iron mixed with the feet of the iron mixed with miry clay. You think about the Nostradamus prophecies that talks about basically Geneva and Saturn. You know, it's like we're seeing all these different things that are really tapping into this transhumanist agenda. And, you know, this satanic cult, this black cube cult that we've seen and remember, Trump Tower, the 33, the black and gold, no different than any of the rest. I hate to tell you, went to Fordham University, a Jesuit, right? A Zionist shill. You can hate it if you want. That's just the fucking truth. He's been in the flames 4 years. Crypto is a golden age in 6 figures, right? And we have the cryptocurrency system using body activity data, the smart cities, the AI prescribing prescriptions. Like, it's going on and on and on and on and on. It's like showing you that this golden age, this Saturnian golden age, is one to bring in the beast system, right? The AI beast system. Yeah.
Presidential election was won by millions of votes, and every one of them, all 7 swing states.
He is a
It was a
commie.
massive mandate from the American people like hasn't been seen in many years. And some of the political pundits, even some of my so-called enemies, said it was the most consequential election victory in 129 years. That's quite nice. What the world has witnessed in the past 72 hours is nothing less than a revolution of common sense. Our country will soon be
And he's
stronger,
wearing
wealthier, and more united than ever before.
He's wearing the purple tie once again. And remember that purple is a color of royalty, right? And I've seen like this theme of him, kind of like represented as the king. And even Elon Musk made a statement of like the king is back. And yes, you do see the bird symbolism as well. A lot of people believe that it was actually a phoenix that they were trying to represent. But even if it wasn't, we know that the eagle represents Jupiter, right? Jehovah, Jove given, Jupiter, right? Like this is Enki, Marduk, and I did a video talking about how everything pre-Marduk era, has been wiped away from our history, right? And a lot of people believe that even fucking, Elon Musk is the reincarnation of Marduk.
And the entire planet will be more peaceful and prosperous as a result of this incredible momentum and what we're doing and going to do. My administration is acting with unprecedented speed to fix the disasters we've inherited from a totally inept group of people and to solve every single crisis facing our country.
And I want you to even think about what he is fucking saying too. He's like, we're racing with unprecedented speed, right? To fix the disasters we inherited by a group of inept people. I feel like he's not talking about the Biden administration. I feel like he's talking about us, the population. We're the group of inept people that have destroyed the world, right? We're that parasitic, profane group of people, right? And this unprecedented speed, right, to fix this is by bringing in, rolling out the AI agenda, this quantum agenda to bring us into this fucking, this reign of this transhumanism.
Begins with confronting the economic chaos caused by the failed policies of the last administration. Over the past 4 years, our government racked up $8 trillion in wasteful deficit spending and inflicted nation-wrecking energy restrictions, crippling regulations, and hidden taxes like never before. The result is the worst inflation crisis in modern history and sky-high interest rates for our citizens and even throughout the world. Food prices and the price of almost every other thing known to mankind went through the roof. President Biden totally lost control of what was going on in our country, but in particular with our high inflation economy and at our border. Because of these ruinous policies, total government spending this year is $1.5 trillion higher than was projected to occur when I left office.
And I'll even show you too, like some of the shit. This is just kind of show you. Let me pull up my Facebook here. Show you a couple of videos here. See if I got the videos up somewhere. Right, here we go. And this is like China's and think about, all of the shit you're seeing now, the comparisons of China. Like, this is China's drone technology. Look at that, bro. Fucking wild, right? Fucking wild. Now, I also want to show you one more here. I think it's on my other one. Yeah, it's on my other one. Let me switch accounts here. Where is it at? Yeah. And this is your World Economic Forum.
Having seen that person commit the crime, even though that person's utterly innocent, that it becomes a planted memory. And so there's some really interesting research that we can plant false memories in the brain. And in a different context, one of the emerging areas that's really interesting in law neuroscience is pain detection. And once we understand the circuitries that cause pain, I guess the question is, could we then instill pain and use that in many coercive measures in the legal system as well? So
Wow, that's amazing.
It's fucking crazy is what it is. And you can see where this AI agenda is actually going to be taking us. I have one more video here. Hold on. Right here. I want to share with you guys. Right here. And you can see the fires. Right. Right.
The Palisades fires really started.
My name's Mickey Mace, and the government is lighting up.
I mean, like, just honestly, when you see it all just being weaved together, it's like it really starts to make a lot of sense. It really does. Fucking mind-blowing. Israel's ethnic weapon. Israel is reportedly developing a biological weapon that would harm Arabs while leaving Jews unaffected, according to a report in London Sunday Times. The report, citing Israeli military and Western intelligence sources, says that scientists are trying to identify distinctive genes carried by Arabs to create a genetically modified bacterium or virus, the ethnobomb. Yes. Now, yes, I know this article was written almost 27 years ago. I just picked an article among others, so keep in mind that this isn't the first time a country has attempted to make weapon or germ of sorts to affect one part of a population. Many have tried, and it remains a mystery if one has ever developed this weapon successfully. They are probably improving it right now. But this kind of stuff is the reason why I've never used a DNA testing service, despite a desire to know more about my own DNA and heritage. I'm yet to come across a company I haven't been skeptical of for one reason or another. So you have a cyber war, you have a narrative war, then you have an economic war. Something I really never talked about publicly that we'll give you here on the show is that one thing there, or China, is so good at is putting U.S. industry out of business. As you probably know, the generic drug business is almost 100% in China now. There are drugs that are absolutely mission-critical drugs, like heparin for dialysis patients, and that's 100% made in China. They could just stop sending it to us, and we'd be in a real problem very quickly. But even worse than that is and think about it, they with all the fucked up shit they put in your food, they've got you to that place. But even worse than that is the people that are sequencing genomes here in the United States. Let's say you go to 23andMe or you go to Ancestry.com. Or you just want to pay to get your genome sequenced. There's a Chinese company called BGI that does the overwhelming majority of all the sequencing of U.S. genes. There are other Chinese companies that are all the backbones of any of the U.S. genomic sequencing companies. China has a genomic sequence of every single person that's been gene typed in the U.S. And they're developing bioweapons that only affect Caucasians, which is crazy. a genetic scientist that is a friend of mine. His name is David Middleman. He works at a company called Othram, but for 25 years, he's been sequencing genomes. He's known in the business as one of the best in the world, and David has a brand new equipment. He's been doing this his entire life, and he tells me that there is absolutely zero chance that someone can sequence a genome for less than $1,400 or something like that. I don't know the exact number, but the Chinese company BGI will sequence your genome for $1,200. That's how they get all the business, because they want that information. They can undercut every single company in the US because it's state driven. That's how they put aluminum business out of business. This is how they went after our steel business. They subsidize businesses they want to take over, and they'll operate at an economic loss. We won't. We can't. So we have to stop these things from happening.
Possible by listeners like you. For more information about this,
And hold on, let me just pull this up too. And see, the Navy's top officer warned against using popular at-home ancestry DNA test kits this week, saying scientific advancements are making biological weapons more tailorable. Biological weapons that can target specific groups or individuals vulnerable to pathogens or other diseases are growing national security concern. Chief of Naval Operations Admiral John Richardson said during a Tuesday speech on nuclear deterrence in Washington, D.C., quote, "Be careful who you send your DNA to," Richardson said at the event hosted by the Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies. There's a number of those companies where you can go and find out what your makeup is. That's a lot of information. Or this one. The U.S. government is surreptitiously collecting the DNA of world leaders and is reportedly protecting that of Barack Obama. Decoded, these genetic blueprints could provide compromising information in his not too distant future. They may provide something more as well, the basis of the creation of personalized bioweapons that could take down a president and leave no trace. Remember when COVID supposedly less targeted towards Ashkenazi and some Eastern Asian people? Remember when 23andMe got hacked and they specifically looked for Ashkenazi Jew and Chinese DNA? Remember when groceries were cheap? Just for the record, I do not consent to this. Yeah. Ethnic bioweapons or biogenetic weapons is a hypothetical type of bioweapon which could preferentially target people of specific ethnicities or people with specific genotypes. And do you guys remember? Let's see if we can pull up this video here. What was I think it was the MAT2 gene, right? This might be it.
As I'm in the midst of applying for residency.
Let's see if this is it. They've been working on this for quite a long fucking time. And hold on, this ain't what I want though. Do I get the right gene, guys?
There have been drugs that have had bad side effects. When you get into gene editing and saying, okay, should people be able to pick characteristics of babies? You know, you get very strong negative reactions to it being used like that. We have a little bit of that in the digital space where people look at superintelligence and computers, you know, taking over.
Fuck Bill Gates. Right here. Here it is.
Excuse me. On the left over here, we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics. And this is the expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. Over here, we have individuals. So let me complete. So over here, we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalist, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach. what you
suggesting
see
here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior. So we have some very, very remarkable data in this next slide. Here we have two brain scans. These are fMRIs. These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated this numerous times, that has high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case, these individuals were read a religious text. This individual lit up the right middle frontal gyrus, shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires. In marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious, and when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something.
So you're suggesting I take a CT scan with me when I'm evaluating people to determine whether I put a bullet in their head?
So the data that I'm presenting here supports the concept that we're proposing, and I think that we would not propose to do CT scans or fMRIs on individuals out in the hinterlands of Afghanistan. The virus,
and you can see, right, they've already been working on this, targeting, different groups of people. It's absolutely fucking insane. Trump ordering the release of JFK, RFK, and MLK assassination records. President Donald Trump ordered the release of classified government documents about the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy, which has fueled conspiracy theories for decades. The executive order Trump signed Thursday also aims to declassify the remaining federal records relating to the assassination of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. The order is among a flurry of executive actions Trump has quickly taken the first week of his second term. Speaking to reporters, Trump said, "Everything will be revealed." Trump has promised during his re-election campaign to make public the last batches of still classified documents surrounding President Kennedy's assassination in Dallas, which is the 33rd parallel. I told you it's a 33 King kill, which has transfixed people for decades. Trump made a similar pledge during his first term, but ultimately bent to appeals from the CIA and FBI to withhold some documents. Trump has nominated Kennedy's nephew, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to be the health secretary in his new administration. Kennedy's father, Robert F. Kennedy, was assassinated in 1968 as he sought the Democratic presidential nomination. The younger Kennedy has said he isn't convinced that a lone gunman was solely responsible for the assassination of his uncle, President Kennedy, in 1963. The order directs the Director of National Intelligence and the Attorney General to develop a plan within 15 days to release the remaining JFK records and within 45 days for the other two cases. It was not clear when the records would actually be released. Trump handed the pen used to sign the order to an aide and directed it to be given to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Only a few thousand of the millions of governmental records related to the assassination of President Kennedy have yet to be fully declassified. And while many who have studied what's been released so far say the public shouldn't anticipate any earth-shattering revelations, there's still an intense interest in details related to the assassination and the events surrounding it. Quote, "There is always the possibility that something would slip through that would be a tiny tip of a much larger iceberg that would be revealing. said Larry Sabato, director of the University of Virginia Center for Politics and author of the Kennedy Half Century. That's what researchers look for. Now, odds are you won't find that, but it is possible that it's there. Kennedy was fatally shot in downtown Dallas on 11/22/99. Think about that. How about that? I told you, the fucking numerology is insane. 11/22, which is 33/99. 9 is, it's the end in numerology, right? As his motorcade passed in front of the Texas School Book on the 33rd parallel on Book Depository Building, where the 24-year-old 2 + 4 is 6 assassin, right? Lee Harvey Oswald, who had positioned himself from a sniper's perch on the 6th floor, right? 6. 2 days after Kennedy was killed, nightclub owner Jack Ruby fatally shot Oswald during a jail transfer. In the early 90s, the federal government mandated that all assassination-related documents be housed in a single collection in the National Archives and Records Administration. The collection of over 5 million records were required to be opened by 2017, barring any exemptions designated by the president. The order notes that although no congressional act directs the release of information, assassination of RFK or King, those government records being made public is also in public interest. During his first term, Trump boasted that he'd allow the release of all the remaining records on the president's assassination, but ended up holding some back because of what he called the potential harm to national security. And while files have continued to be released under President Joe Biden, some still remain unseen. Sabato, who trained student researchers to comb through the documents, said that most researchers agree that roughly 3,000 records have not yet been released, either in whole or in part. And many of those originated within the CIA. The documents released over the last several years offer details in the way intelligence services operated at the time, and include CIA cables, memos discussing visits by Oswald to the Soviet Union and Cuban embassies during a trip to Mexico City just weeks before the assassination. The former Marine had previously defected to the Soviet Union before returning home to Texas. And notice he was a fucking Marine. You know, it's just crazy. King and RFK were assassinated within 2 months of each other in 1968. King was outside a motel in Memphis on 4/4, 6, 8, 9, 4, 13, 4, when he shots rang out, and that 4 is a number of police, right, and authority, right? And he was a civil rights leader, right? So it's like the police taking down a civil rights leader with that number 4 there. It's just crazy, guys. And who had been in town to support striking sanitation workers, was set to lead marches on other nonviolent protests there. He died at a hospital less than an hour later. James Earl Ray pleaded guilty to the assassinating King. He later, though, renounced that plea and maintained his innocence up until his death. FBI documents released over the years show how the Bureau wiretapped King's telephone lines, bugged his hotel rooms, and used informants to get information against him. The agency's conduct was the subject of the recent documentary film, MLK FBI. Now think about that. All that 4 numerology in that, and they were wiretapping him, bugging everything, like they clearly wanted him gone. RFK, then a New York senator, was fatally shot on 6/5. That's 11 and 14/5. So we have 5/5 on this one, 11/5/55 fives on this one, which represents sex. It can represent sex. 5 does Ambassador Hotel, and he was in a hotel in LA after giving his victory speech for winning California's Democratic presidential nominee. His assassin, Sirhan, was convicted of first-degree murder, serving life in prison. There are still some documents in JFK, although the researchers don't believe the president will be able to release. So, I mean, and this is how it always goes, right? This is how it always goes. Whenever we see these kind of things, we see the numerology, you know, the symbolism, all of it, you know. So I'm not I'm not surprised at all. Biden pardoned his family for all nonviolent federal crimes committed from January 1st, 2014 to today. Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, to all whom these presents shall come greeting, Be it known that this day I, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States, pursuant to my powers under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution, have granted unto James B. Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John T. Owens, and Francis W. Biden a full and unconditional pardon for any nonviolent offenses against the United States which they may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 2014 through the date of this pardon. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto signed my name and caused the seal of the Department of Justice to be affixed. So he pardoned his whole fucking family, right? Conveniently released during the inauguration ceremony 20 minutes before his time was up, too. Not enough. There's also this one, Joseph Biden and Anthony Fauci, right? Why would it be from 2014? 2014 is the start date of the NIH grant AI 110964, which funded the research in Wuhan that caused COVID, and which Fauci approved in violation of a moratorium in 2014 through 2017 and a mandate for HHS secretary level review in 2018 through 2020. The start data of the preemptive pardon to Fauci corresponds to the start date of the NIH grant. And he got a fucking grant. I'm interested in that. Which funded the research in Wuhan that caused COVID, which Fauci misfeasantly approved for continued funding in 2015 through 2020. This is the grant. We'll look at that in just a second. Newsweek in 2014, the NIH said it paused funding for the GOF research that was reasonably anticipated to confer attributes to influenza, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, or MERS, or SARS viruses that would make them more transmissible to humans. Speaking of Newsweek, Ebright said that this appeared to be false by his interpretation of the documents released by The Intercept. Multiple sections of the grant proposals and grant progress reports made it clear that the grant-funded gain-of-function research and concern in Wuhan said two especially noteworthy sections are page 28 and figure 35 of the 4-year progress report on the 5-year grant term. On page 3, figure 6, the proposal for second 5-year grant term. Ebright said these sections of the document showed that the NIH grants supported the construction of mutant SARS-related coronaviruses that involved blending different types together. The result was a lab-generated virus that could infect human cells, he said, adding that at least 3 of the lab-generated viruses exhibited greater than 10 times to 100 times higher viral loads in humanized mice. These pardons aren't about justice. They're part of the system that needs to be dried out, or better yet, drained for good. Least but not last, back in November 2024, the Biden Justice Department told court an acceptance of pardon is a confession of guilt. So at least we know they were criminals. How about that, right? Fucking funny, right? And this is the abstract. And I'm going to put this into the chat if you guys want to check this out too. Yeah, it's fucking, the pardoning shit is just ridiculous, dude. It's fucking ridiculous. The project is aiming the risk of future COVs emerging from wildlife and death. And you guys can go look into this. We know what all this means. This is the gain of function. The mutated bullshit, right? Simulation or Illuminati having a laugh. Like, once you're awake, signs are everywhere. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? After Trump, now Melania rug pulls. Presidential insider crypto scam. Isn't the blatant rug pull by a president and his family a troubling sign for the crypto sphere and overall economics? Drop the hand sign. There it is. See? She said, drop the fucking hand sign. He was way fucking obvious with it, right? Way obvious. Mm, mm, mm. All right. Here we go. See if we can. Well, fuck. These are not secured sites. And this is. Let's see if we can get this in English here. Cologne Swimming Pools introduces AI system to detect emergency situations. Camera-based system analysis the movement behavior of bathers and detect signs of possible emergencies all within 30 seconds. This is just crazy. The shit that's happening now with fucking AI, it's just mind-blowing to me, honestly. It truly is. It is mind-blowing to me. Nikolai Mushegan drowned on the very same day he accused the CIA of running a pedo ring in the Caribbean. How about that? CIA and Mossad and pedo elite are running some kind of sex trafficking, entrapment, blackmail ring out of Puerto Rico and Caribbean islands. They're going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-girlfriend who was a spy. They will torture me to death. This is October 20th. How about that? That is fucking crazy. This is one of the many bizarre occurrences involving the CIA being accused of running sex trafficking rings and the whistleblower dying as a consequence. Since the timing of the post and his death is less than 1 day, it's hard to label this as a mere coincidence, especially since there is no such thing and no such evidence already tying the CIA to sex trafficking. On his personal Twitter account, you can find a link to Nikolai.fyi, which is his personal website. And it's fucking nuts, dude. Let's see. Huh. Yeah, it's not a secure network. So, welcome to the next 4 years, and you can see all of them doing their little Hitler hail. Right. Well, all the tech leaders, right? With at Trump's inauguration, you had Bezos, Zuckerberg, all of them, Google, Musk, the oligarchy. 3 of those men have at one time or another been classified as the world's richest man, and here they stand shoulder to shoulder supporting Trump. The CEO of TikTok sitting next to the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Yep, what could go wrong? See, man, dude, it's just fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. You know, you're telling me that they're not going to push this whole AI agenda? Nah, you're tripping. You're definitely tripping. Storming the speech. Fucking ridiculous. Stupid shit. This is just, U.S. immigration app has been shut down. White House Spanish account is shut down. Wow. 2 missing Ohio kids found in Iceland. That's so fucking weird. NATO sending ships and aircraft to the Baltic Sea.
Today, I can announce that NATO is launching Baltic Sentry. Under the authority of NATO's Supreme Allied Commander, General Kisker-Vody, this military activity is part of our ongoing effort to enhance maritime presence and monitoring of key areas for our alliance.
This is for Russia.
It will involve a range of assets, including frigates and maritime patrol aircraft, among others, and will enhance our vigilance in the Baltic. Safeguarding our infrastructure is of utmost importance. Not only is this crucial for energy supply, whether from power cables or pipelines, but more than 95% of internet traffic is secured via undersea cables.
Right.
And 1.3 million kilometers of cables guarantee an estimated $10 trillion worth of financial transactions every day. Ship captains must understand that potential threats.
And I want you to think about this, them securing all this internet cable and all these different things. It's like, don't it seem like it would be in preparation, for war?
Our infrastructure will have consequences, including.
And also think like the provocations to Russia, to China, all these things, they've been building up, guys, building up since after the election. And it's like, I'm telling you, it looks like Trump's going to be the man to take us to World War III, whether he wants to or not. And I think he does. I think they chose him for that's why he's got that nationalist, he's such a pro-nationalist, America first, make America great. Everything is, in the name of defending America. And I'm not saying he's not doing his job, but I'm also saying like, this is all a show. It's all theatrics, it's all a theatrics, they're all in bed together. This is going to be the simultaneous destruction of the superpowers,
including possible boarding, impounding, and arrest. And while such law enforcement roles are for national authorities, we are best served when there is complementarity between NATO's efforts to detect threats and deter aggression and national efforts to enforce the law.
Well, we're only a couple of hours into.
And I would love to, hear your guys' opinion on some of this shit. I mean, honestly, Guy's launching his own shit coin. Got it.
Welcome to China in
China's
Focus.
bird flu cover
top.
up. It's just fucking. It's nonstop, guys. You can tell the agenda's in full fucking. Full fucking throws here, guys. Full fucking throws. Comet Atlas coming back. You guys remember Atlas, right? I did a lot on Atlas. Just thought I would post this Carl Sagan's quote for no particular reason. I have a foreboding of an America in my children or grandchildren's time when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all the manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority, when clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide, almost without noticing, back into superstition and darkness. Now, how about that? Is that not a fucking quote and a half right there for the world that we live in now? Think about this with the New Age agenda and all of it. One more time. I have a foreboding of an America in my children or grandchildren's time when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all the manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority, when clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide almost without noticing back into superstition and darkness. How about that? The new Stargate project. Yes, part of the new technology that President Trump wants to bring to the world with the creation of Project Stargate, are individual custom designed mRNA vaccines created by AI.
So Donald Trump just announced the Stargate project, and OpenAI went to X to sort of give us more details about what this Stargate project is. And to be honest, I have really, really mixed feelings about it, and I'll explain why. Because there's one specific thing that I haven't seen anybody else talking about that is a little bit concerning to me, but I'll get to that in just a moment. First, let's take a quick look at what this Project Stargate is. So this is a new company which intends to invest
The Stargate project is a new company which intends to invest $500 billion over the next 4 years, building new AI infrastructure for open AI in the United States. We will begin deploying $100 billion immediately. This infrastructure will secure American leadership in AI, create hundreds of thousands of American jobs, and generate massive economic benefit for the entire world. This project will not only support the re-industrialization of the United States, but also provide a strategic capability to protect the national security of America and its allies. The initial equity funders in Stargate are SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and MGX. SoftBank and OpenAI are the lead partners for Stargate, with SoftBank having financial responsibility and OpenAI having operational responsibility. Masayoshi-san will be the chairman. Let's see, keep this moving here.
Is Larry Ellison here, and he's one of the key figures that sort of makes me a little worried about this. But again, I'll get to that in just a moment. SoftBank and OpenAI are the
And the initial equity funders in Stargate, ARM, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Oracle, and OpenAI are the key initial technology partners. The build-out is currently underway, starting in Texas, and we are evaluating potential sites across the country for more campuses. Dude, as part of the Stargate, Oracle, NVIDIA, and OpenAI will close, which all their stock has been dropping, right? This is fucking crazy. Fucking crazy. How all this shit just kind of like comes together, honestly. We are thrilled to continue our strategic partnership with OpenAI to partner on Stargate. Today's announcement is complementary to what our companies have been working on since 2019, right? COVID-19. The key elements of our partnership remain in place for the duration of our contract through 2030, Agenda 2030. With our access to OpenAI's IP, our revenue sharing arrangements, and our exclusivity on OpenAI's APIs all continuing forward. Specifically, Microsoft and Bill Gates, OpenAI, and P-inclusive model of infrastructure for use within our products like Copilot. This means our customers has access to the best model for their needs. The OpenAI API is exclusive to Azure, runs on Azure, and is also available through Azure OpenAI service. This agreement means customers benefit from having access to leading models on Microsoft platforms and direct from OpenAI. Microsoft and OpenAI have revenue sharing agreements that flow both ways, ensuring that both companies benefit from increased use of new and existing models. In addition to this, OpenAI recently made a new large Azure commitment that will continue to support all. Just, you know what? And you can see the same fucking players that are involved in all of this, guys.
Understanding the condition of their patients, and
here we go.
Health records, understanding the condition.
This Project Stargate shit.
maybe the most charismatic and the one that I think touches us all, is electronic health records, not just maintaining electronic health records, but by looking at electronic health records, understanding the condition of the doctors, better understanding the condition of their patients, and being able
The
to provide
electronic
healthcare
health
plans that
records,
are much
Internet
better
of
than they otherwise would
Bodies,
be. A doctor in
right?
Indian
AI
River
now
Reservation
prescribing fucking
would be able to see
medicines.
how a doctor at Memorial Sloan Kettering would treat the patient, or a doctor at Stanford would treat the patient. We actually provide all of that information, all of that guidance to the doctors who are treating cancer patients or patients with any other kind of disease, made possible by AI. One of the most exciting things we're working on is a cancer vaccine. Turns out all of our cancer tumors, little fragments of those tumors float around in your blood. You can do early cancer detection with a blood test, and using AI to look at the blood test, you can find the cancers that are actually seriously threatening the person. So we can, again, cancer diagnosis using AI has the promise of just being a simple blood test. Then beyond that, once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again using AI, in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
Motherfucker, now think about that. We just seen an article talking about the dangers of gene sequencing and not giving anybody your fucking DNA. Now they're talking about gene sequencing and giving somebody your DNA because they're talking about, and remember, the reason why is because of ethnic bioweapons, right? Ethnic fucking bioweapons, and how China, right, owns all the gene sequencing, right? Making targeted shit to target Caucasians. It's like, what the fuck, man? You know, it's like everything that you see just connects to the next thing, you know? And it's like, I didn't even do this intentionally. It's just how it works. It's just how it works. It's like, it's all out there now, you know? And literally he's talking about AI doing all these things, making diagnoses. And now you have Trump, you know, releasing this new AI able to write prescriptions. You know, you can see what direction we're going. This is the golden Saturnian age. Trump is talking about bringing in the golden age. This is the new Saturnian age. That black cube death cult coming back again, right? That hidden hand, right? That hidden hand. That hidden hand. They're all bringing it out there, guys. Like it's all in your motherfucking face. It's all in your face through mRNA, the DOD, DARPA. It's like, where does it end? Where will it end? Honestly, you know, where will it end? And see, look, the ethnic bioweapons. They're literally telling you, don't fucking do this. And literally, they're talking about sequencing your DNA and how they can have a fucking mRNA, right, specifically tailored for you within 48 hours. I would trust that, wouldn't you? Would you trust that? If you fuck, dude. And look, yes, part of the new technology that President Trump wants to bring to the world with the creation of Project Stargate are individual, custom-designed mRNA jabs created by AI. See, I told you to watch out. We are entering the AI hell times. No golden age coming. Oh, the fear of nuclear fire that would consume Earth is getting closer. China's artificial sun generates steady loop of plasma for 1,000 seconds. Remember, the nuclear fucking drills running in New York too. Here we go.
In a remarkable breakthrough that reshapes the landscape of clean energy, Chinese scientists have achieved what was once thought impossible. China's experimental fusion reactor has managed to maintain its scorching plasma for an unprecedented 17 minutes. The temperatures are hotter than the sun's core. Our next story explains how this is yet another milestone in humanity's quest for unlimited power.
Humanity's quest for unlimited power.
The
Hit that
sun is a
thumbs up
fiery
in the chat, by
powerhouse.
the way.
Its immense energy fuels life on Earth. It provides warmth, light, and the energy needed for survival.
Would we even need a fucking artificial sun if Bill Gates wasn't trying to dim the actual sun? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what in the fuck, bro? Will we even need a sun simulator whatsoever if Bill Gates wasn't literally trying to launch nanoparticulates into the sky, flying out the back of the ass of a plane?
For billions of years, it has burnt relentlessly, powered by nuclear fusion at its core. This process fuses hydrogen atoms into helium, releasing vast amounts of energy. Now, humanity is trying to replicate this cosmic force here on Earth. As the demands for energy soars, the rush for sustainable and clean energy is intensifying. Fossil fuels pollute the environment and are finite. Renewable sources like wind and solar are promising but limited by nature's whims.
It's 1,066.
The solution lies in nuclear fusion, the holy grail of energy production. China is leading the charge with its experimental advanced superconducting tokamak, often called the artificial sun. In a groundbreaking test, Chinese scientists claim to have sustained plasma temperatures exceeding 100 million degrees Celsius. That's 6 times hotter than the sun's core. Chinese researchers say that they maintained this high temperature for an unprecedented 1,066 seconds. This feat not only broke records, but marked a major step towards creating a limitless zero-carbon energy source.
And of course, all of this is taking place in the name of climate change, right?
Fusion reactors work by mimicking the sun. Hydrogen isotopes are heated to extreme temperatures, forming a superhot plasma, a state of matter where atoms split into charged particles. This plasma is confined in a magnetic field inside a donut-shaped chamber. When the particles collide and fuse, they release energy. Unlike nuclear fission, fusion doesn't produce long-lived radioactive waste, making it a safer, cleaner alternative. While China is setting records, it's not alone. The US, Japan, India, and UK, and 32 other nations are collaborating on the ITER project in France, which aims to build the world's largest magnetic fusion device. These efforts signal a global race.
Building the world's largest magnetic fusion device. So they're all coming together to build the world's largest fucking fake sun. It's just absolutely crazy. Oh my gosh. The world's fastest supercomputer. It will be used to secure the U.S. nuclear stockpile and in other classified research. So now we're giving AI control of not only our prescriptions and our genetic sequencing and everything else in this golden age, right? Now, the supercomputer will also have control of the nuclear stockpile. Does this not... Does anybody ever seen Terminator? Skynet, right? Like, does this seem like a good idea to you, or just saying?
All right, let's get started. Ready to jump into a deep dive on supercomputers. And not just any supercomputer, we're talking about the fastest in the world, El Capitan it's called. This incredible machine is housed at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. And get this, it can hit speeds of 2.746 exaflop PS. Exaflop PS. Yeah, it sounds like something out of Star Trek, right? But it's a real thing. An exaflop means El Capitan can do a quintillion calculations, a quintillion per second. That's a 1 with 18 zeros after it. I mean, think about your laptop. It's probably doing a few hundred gigaflop PS, which is still impressive, a trillion calculations every second.
Hit that
But El
thumbs up, hit
Capitan,
that like if you guys are
it's
in the
on
chat
another
too,
level
please.
entirely. And it's not just about the raw speed. It's about what we can do with this power. El Capitan was built with a $600 million price tag. It came online back in November 2024.
And I'm just keeping it all the way real with you. Tonight's video, I will be amazed if they don't fucking give this one a strike and take this one down. I will be posting it on the Best Damn Podcast 2 and John Keane YouTube channel, as well as John Keane Facebook and the Best Damn Podcast Facebook. So I will be posting it on other platforms just in case they take this one down. But I mean, I really want you to just kind of like look at tonight as a whole. As a whole, we walked into this bitch talking about false flags and, you know, the Roman circus and, you know, this symbolism and predictive programming and how we are consciously manifesting and creating this reality and how we're all being mind controlled and programmed through all this shit. And like, look where we've ended. We've nuclear fucking exercises in New York, Illuminati cards, $100 bills showing nuclear devastation in New York. Now they're telling you the COVID jab is not a good idea. Now they're saying that they're going with the Wuhan lab leak theory, and this is going to hurt China relations as we gas up the bus to prepare for nuclear war. Right? Oh, the dates aligning with Agenda 2030. And, you know, it just continues. Trump with all the different files that are being released showing the, the corruption of the CIA and the people that were killed and how they warned us of the CIA and how the CIA was fucking probably the ones who killed them, you know. The World Economic Forum and how they can plant thoughts, how they're making these fucking biogenetic weapons to attack specific races and people, and how we shouldn't be giving our DNA to anybody because of this. Yet now we see Project Stargate coming out, and they want us to give our DNA. That way AI can create mRNA for us to cure us of cancers and all kinds of shit in less than 48 hours, right? But at the same time, this genomic sequencing is very dangerous, so they say, because it can be used as a bioweapon, right? Elon Musk, Donald Trump, they've talked about this golden age. He's talked about the king returning, Trump with his purple tie, which represents royalty. It's just one thing after another, right? The underground, trafficking that we've seen, guy from Comet Ping Pong Pizza being killed now. You know, it's like all of the connections, AI being able to prescribe prescriptions and just, it's like fucking overload.
While a lot of what it does is top secret, one of its main missions is to ensure the safety and reliability of the U.S. nuclear stockpile. Since underground testing was banned back in '92, scientists have turned to supercomputers like El Capitan to simulate nuclear reactions. It's like
Now think about that too. They're giving AI control of the nuclear stockpile, right? El Capitan supports a U.S. nuclear stockpile by enabling sophisticated simulations and modeling to ensure safety and reliability without underground testing. High energy physics and this high energy, and all of a sudden, we have all these fucking sun simulators that are coming out now that have nuclear capability for fusion and fission, and they can be used as weapons as well. We've talked about the DoD, we talked about DARPA, we've talked about the mRNA, we talked about Apogee, we've talked about graphene oxide and its ability, its magnetic capabilities, and how the pineal gland is a magnetic pole of your body and it's destroyed. This is the spiritual antenna of your body. We've talked about all these things. We've talked about how these sun simulators wouldn't even be necessary if Bill Gates weren't trying to dim out the fucking sun. We've talked about how these satellites have the capability to create directed energy weapon. And that all these fires are taking place to create these 15-minute smart cities in LA 2.0 for the 2028 fucking Olympics. We've talked about all of these different things. It's like one thing after another. You can see the agenda being rolled out. And Trump, he's pressing the fucking gas, guys. I'm telling you. He's told you. He's like, I'm hitting the gas on this shit, right? We're going into the golden age, and the golden age is a Saturnian golden age, right? This is a Saturnian golden age. Whew. Hollywood actress Roseanne Barr, and we've talked about pedophilia too. Roseanne Barr told Tucker Carlson that the occult elites eat babies and love blood. I love this. Because flat out, we hold on here. I'm gonna pull it up over here actually. Here we go.
You know they eat babies. That is not bullshit. It's true.
So it's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh and they drink human blood. They do. By the time we go in to vote for Trump, that he will open up everybody's eyes and they will stop pretending to be asleep. You know what they say, you can't wake people up that are pretending to be asleep, but I pray to God, please wake up even those who are pretending to be asleep with the irrefutable truth of what the worst people on this planet are really up to. They are really up to that. They're doing it. There's so many victims. There are so many victims.
Yeah. She said that the people pretending to be asleep. The people pretending to be asleep. And I really want you to think about that. You know? As we see so many people turning a blind eye to this, it's like the irrefutable truth is right in their face, like Roseanne said. You know, and not to be one of those I told you so people, but I fucking told you so, right? And so did you. You told them so too. You know? It's like it's easier to pretend like none of this is taking place. It's easier to pretend like none of it's happening. You know? But I'm sorry, you know, your silence is your consent. You know, I do not consent to none of this. You know, they watch that mind-controlling fucking television, the internet, all of it, and it's programming them day and night into their beliefs, right? Telling them what to think, telling them what to believe, telling them what to feel. The internet algorithms now just reinforcing their fucked up belief systems. They can't even hear a different opinion. They get so triggered, so deep in their emotions, the logical side of their brain just kicks the fuck off. This is mind control at its best. Now think about all of them wired for fucking sound too, with all this mRNA shit. You know, all the nanoparticulates in the air and the satellites, and it's like we have entered into the brave new world. Whew. This dystopian reality or dystopian future, it's now. Agenda 2030, we're in 2025, y'all. Remember 2021 for sustainable development? Agenda 2030, sustainable development. We're here. We're here. Trump is bringing in the next 4 years just in time for Agenda 2030. You can already see what's in the future, right? LA 2.0 and the 15-minute smart cities that they've got planned. They could have fires at will.
Listen to this.
Fires at will. Directed energy. Dude, I've been victimized by directed energy so much, it's not even funny. I get teed off on all the time, and you can't tell people this shit. They won't believe you. But it's a terrifying experience. It's a painful experience. It's a horrifying experience. Right now, my platforms are being attacked, been demonetized on fucking everything. I literally had somebody, I owe $500 on Patreon right now. I'm in the negative because of people trying to get their money back on their subscriptions, trying to fucking bankrupt my ass. It's fucking crazy. It's crazy. I've had people try to sue me, put me in jail. And it's all because of the things that I've said. And people, wonder why I don't make videos like I used to, or like why I'm not like I used to be. It's like, you can only go through so much, And you guys know the truth is it's a lonely road. It's a lonely road. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into trying to, and you guys know this firsthand, spending all of your time and your energy researching, learning, developing your spiritual skills and your spiritual aptitude, your understanding of the arts, of the esoteric nature of things, studying the ancient texts, ancient civilizations. Because if you don't learn, you don't know where you come from, then you have no idea where you're going, right? Those who don't learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. And you see the nature, the truth of reality and religion in itself. They're all the same stories. It all boils down to these mysteries. And if you don't belong to one of these brotherhoods or these cults, they consider you the profane. They don't consider you worthy of that sublime knowledge, right? But at the same time, we're seeing this indoctrination into the Luciferian principles worldwide through the New Age agenda, which people can get offended if they want. It's just the truth. All of the old paradigms are dying. The religious paradigms, the political paradigms, social constructs, even national borders and all of it. It's going away. We are having a realignment into a one world system. We're in the final home stretch now. I don't know how much of this shit I can, point out to people. I don't know how much of this shit you can point out to people. There comes a point where, when do we take care of ourselves? The 1953 book Mars Project. You remember we started about Elon Musk being Marduk, by famous Nazi rocket scientist Werner von Braun, created a character in his book named Elon, who led an expedition to colonize Mars. And we know that Trump said we're going to Mars. Fucking crazy. That is disgusting. And you can see those changes in the world all over. It ain't just the climate. The climate, it's being artificially changed, Bill Gates has decided another pandemic is coming. Bill Gates says the odds of another pandemic in the next 4 years are 10% to 15%. And we're not prepared. We talked about him earlier, right? And showed his connections to the first one. Isn't it strange how the first one came during Trump's era? I've decided that there will be multiple hurricanes and tornadoes this year. By the way, as there has been 9 pandemics over the last 100 years, I'd say the odd of a pandemic in the next 4 years, 10% is probably fairly accurate. Take a look at this. This is the abstract. This is pandemics throughout the history. As we move amidst the coronavirus disease 2019 COVID-19 pandemic, we have witnessed tremendous distress, death, turmoil of everyday life for more than 1 year now. However, they are not modern phenomena. Deadly pandemics have happened throughout recorded history. Pandemics such as the plague, Spanish flu, HIV, and Ebola caused deaths, destruction of political regimes, as well as financial and psychosocial burdens. However, they sometimes result in scientific discoveries. Understanding the mechanism of the emergence of these pandemics is crucial to control any spreading pandemic and prevent the emergence of potential of new one. Public health agencies need to work on improving the country's pandemic preparedness to prevent any future pandemics. Now, and think about it, the emergence of mRNA came from this pandemic. In 1666, 666, the term pandemic was first used to describe a continuously spreading disease in a country. The word epidemic and pandemic were, and remember the Illuminati card, epidemic, were used broadly and often alternatively in many social medical contexts during the 17th and 18th centuries. There are many reasons why pandemics have happened and become more likely. Climate change holds a significant impact on the transition of zoonotic infections by influencing the environment of their vectors. Increased land use due to expanding human population. So climate change, depopulation, increased animal to human contact over the years, increased the risk of transmission of zoonotic infections to animal beings. Moreover, antimicrobial resistance is one of the leading causes. Gene sequencing that increases the potential of a future pandemic. The potential use of microorganisms as biological weapons. Ethnic bioweapons raises the probability of emergence of future pandemic. In addition, the healthcare workers shortage and unpreparedness health systems affect the ability to contain the situation in case a pandemic arises. Right? Mandates. On the one hand, pandemics throughout history have significant health consequences and represented a threat to the existence of humankind. Rapidly spreading infections such as C-19 can overwhelm the healthcare system and lead to limited access to health services and increase mortality rates for both communicable and non-communicable diseases. We have the Athenian plague. Hold on, let me go back here. Shit. Cancel. The Athenian plague of 430 BCE, where rash, headache, and conjunctivitis progressing to abdominal cramps and hemoptysis, eventually leading to death in 7 to 8 days. In many cases, the exact count is not available. The Antonine plague, 165 to 180 AD. The Justinian plague, the Black Death. The 7 cholera pandemics, the Spanish flu, which was H1N1 in 1918. The Asian flu, 1957. Hong Kong flu, H3N2, HIV and AIDS, which we know Fauci was part of that. And then we had the SARS COVID, swine flu, Ebola, C19, coronavirus 19, right? And you can see the death toll. COVID-19 is literally the smallest one out of all of them. How about that? But isn't it strange how all of this fucking emerges and, you know, this is what we got. Private prisons are going to rake it in. Trump reversed an EO that eliminated DOJ private prison contracts. He's about to sign a bill expanding migrant detention, further enriching the private prison industry. FEMA.
All right, let's get out now to senior correspondent Brian Enton. He is live for us there on the ground outside of Asheville. Brian, we just heard from President Trump there. He says that area is going to come back stronger than before.
Right.
Yeah, I certainly hope so, Nicole. There's still so much devastation here 4 months after Hurricane Helene. We're in Swannanoa. We're just a couple of blocks away from where President Trump is going to be meeting with residents. I want to show you kind of on the other side of this river, back in that area is where the president is going to be. And you can just see there's all these people that are still living in.
Doesn't it just fucking make you wonder, too? All these hurricanes. Like, we have these weather machines, like these fucking
and
fires.
are living in RVs. And
you know, what is the real agenda behind all of this? Right? New CME heading for Earth. Guys, we're at an unprecedented time. That's just the truth. We are at an unfucking precedented time. Never before. Never before. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, I try to watch my back. I tell you what, man. I've been going through it lately. Seriously. I have been going through it lately. No shit. Like I said, they started the directed energy weapon attacks on me again recently. The isolation is just fucking insane now. Like, you know. The censorship. That's why I have so many accounts on all the platforms because of it. The canceling, the censorship, the demonetization. Financially, they've just fucking... They've killed me. They've killed me. You know. And I don't get financial support on these channels anymore. Like, I don't. People don't donate. They don't do that. It's crazy how much things have changed, you know. We don't take care of each other no more. We don't have each other's back no more. We don't look out for each other no more. You know. We don't see value in each other no more. It's like this every man for himself. And it's like, I fucking hate the whole new age agenda. Yeah, Matrix for sure. It is Matrix, right? Well, and it's like, take care of me. Yeah, but you know what? I do take care. I try to take care of me. But at the same time, it's like, it's not just all about me. You know? And I hate that the whole new age thing is like push this. It's like this fucking perverse, distorted version of spirituality. It's like, love yourself first. And da, 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 da. It's like this whole selfish, self-absorbed fucking version of spirituality. And they call it love and awareness. And it's just disgusting. You know, it's disgusting. I'm not trying to be a martyr or anything like that. I mean, even though sometimes I have the tendency to make myself one. I think we all probably do. You know, but at the same token, it's like, God damn, what are we fighting for if we're not fighting for each other? What are we fighting for if we're not fighting for the future? Like our children, our grandchildren. Like, what the fuck? I'm not going to win any popularity contests. Everybody thinks I'm insane anyways. I am, right? The left hates me because I talk about the trans agenda and all of this other shit, right? Because they just push the garbage down our throats, you know? The right fucking hates me because I talk about Trump being controlled opposition. It's like, you know, and those in the middle, those who do get it, you know, they've been brainwashed by all that new age bullshit. So they think that it's all about looking out for number one and taking care of themselves. So they don't care about community. They don't care about, standing together. They don't care about those things anymore. They've got this Jesus God complex, They think they're the chosen one, right? Everybody else is just sheeple and da-da-da-da. It's like, nah, we're all in this together. From the most asleep to the most awake. And no matter what you think there's always someone that knows more. And none of it is worth it if we don't have people to share it with. I just want people to really consider this. They have pitted us against each other in this divide and conquer tactics. Left versus right, black versus white, gay versus straight, rich versus poor, right? Male versus female. They have made it to where truthers, spiritual teachers are frauds if they make money, right? They have made it to where we have isolated so much that we don't even know how to interact anymore with one another. It's become all about selfish, self-absorbed, self-love, which ain't self-love at all. It's like we all continue to just fall for it over and over and over. They have divided us. And it's like, if we actually came together, if we actually supported each other, if we actually loved one another, if we actually came together, that's our power. But we'll never do so because we're too fucking envious of each other. We're too jealous of each other. We're too judgmental of each other. We're too into our own fucking selves and our own fucking ideas and our own fucking opinions. I have to check that TV series out. No, I mean, I love all of you guys. I love all of you guys. I appreciate everybody that, watches on the channel. I appreciate everybody that takes the time to share. No matter what platform you watch, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, any of them. I appreciate everybody for following and watching. I really do. I appreciate the prayer warriors who say prayers for me and send good intentions my way. I appreciate the people that share my shit, take the time to comment on my shit, subscribe, donate when they do. I appreciate all of it. I just appreciate everybody that's out there putting out truth themselves, that's posting shit themselves, that's doing this themselves. It's like, I just would love to see more of a united front. I love to see us come together more. That's where our power is. Knowledge is power, but it's useless if it's just one fucking person. Right? But when we can take our knowledge, iron sharpening iron, you have your knowledge, I have mine, she has her knowledge, he has his knowledge, and we all come together, we are an unstoppable fucking force. That's how it works, right? They keep us divided that way. We don't know what the fuck's going on. Our heads are just spinning in circles with our thumbs up our ass while they're feeding us propaganda and bullshit and brainwashing bullshit and all of this mind control fuck shit, right? Through their witchcraft and all of this, through the television, through the radio, through the internet, social media, and all of this. And everybody loves, some good witchcraft, don't they? And they continue to soak it all in, get emotionally engaged, and create the exact reality that they want created. They are being walked to the slaughter and they can't even see it. And we're killing each other in the process. So. I am going to wrap this one up. I do want to say thank you to each and every one of you guys for watching tonight. I want to say thank you to everybody. For real, I appreciate all of you guys. Please, 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 if you're watching this now, I'm getting a little shaky here, hit the thumbs up. Give this a thumbs up, whether you catch us live or catch us on the flip side. Make sure to give it a thumbs up. After the live is over, comment, guys. The comments really help with the algorithms. Share this to your social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, whatever. Share the video out. It takes 2 seconds to do that, and it really helps me to spread it around, helps new people to find me. And consider donating, supporting. Like I said, I've been under major attack. Literally, my fucking Patreon is negative $500. I literally have motherfuckers trying to bankrupt me right now. Donate, support. I would greatly appreciate that. Everybody try to donate, help me out. I really need the help right now. PayPal.me, the Best Damn Podcast. Cash App, Best Damn Podcast. Facebook.com, John Keane, Best Damn Podcast. Or join me over on Patreon, patreon.com, Best Damn Podcast Official. If you'd like to book a tarot reading or an astrology reading, text 513-393-2396, 513-393-2396, or email the real Best Damn Podcast at gmail.com. Follow me, Instagram, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn, and my Facebook is Facebook Best Damn Podcast and John Keane Best Damn Podcast, TikTok at The Best Damn Podcast, YouTube. I got one of my YouTube channels back, so it's YouTube. Main channel is Best Damn Podcast Official. Best Damn Podcast 2 is just Best Damn Podcast. And then I got John Keane, which is John Keane 33. So make sure to hit that thumbs up, like, share, comment, subscribe, donate, support. I love you guys, and I will see you next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you haven't seen this from the beginning, go back and watch this. This is a fucking crazy video. I don't know how long it's going to be up. They'll probably take this one down. So I love you guys. Y'all have an awesome one. And thank you for everybody who supports and shares and all that good stuff. I love you guys. Peace.